Hello, 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 guys. It's me, Waldo. Starting a live. Hopefully, we get some viewers on here. Hey, Jesse. Hey, Patty. How's it going, everybody? Sorry, I had to type some stuff up a minute ago. I'm working on a few different things. So I've been kind of busy. So, how's everyone's weekend going? I know we're getting rain right now pretty bad. How's it going? Good to have you on here. That's pretty good, Jesse. I'm glad it's going good. It's been a pretty good weekend so far, except for the rain. Had to go pick some more equipment up. What's up, chump? Not much, right? Just sitting here, a little sore from yesterday, right? From moving that machine. It's pretty heavy, so. And I got a box today, but it's not from Juan. It's from Myrna. She actually sent me something. So I'm gonna open it. I don't know what it is. But actually, I got it. Well, she said she was sending me something. Got a feeling from what the description said, put it that way. Here's one awesome thing, guys. Packing material. You know how important this stuff, this is like gold. Thank you so much, Myrna. This is a tape dispenser. And the reason she got that is because when I do the tumblers and all that, I don't have a dispenser here. I just literally cut the tape and stick it there. So she got me a tape dispenser. Thank you so much. How's it out in Cali, Rye? Hopefully I can figure this thing out. I hope I figure out which way my tape goes on first. I don't know, been sick and cursor all week. You still in the hospital, Rye, or? All set up. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Oh, I've been stuck in. I thought you said it. Sorry. That is where I do not read the best. Open. Eating plant-based food. You eat a lot of that stuff anyways, though, don't you? Yeah, I had fun. Literally, where I picked up that other mill. Hey George Lopez, how's it going? The other place, I follow their auctions a lot, and literally, like I have one mill already. I wanted another, but I didn't really want to spend the money because mills aren't cheap. Well, the ones say want gummies. Hey, the gummies I sent you were not plant based, Rye. Hate to break it to you. I think they're made from marrow too. I believe that's what it is, where you make gummy from the coagulant that makes it gel is made from. Well, it's made from it's not but marrow. It's made from animal bone. Maybe I will send you some plant based vegan Mexican sweetbread, like I did to Juan, Rye. That was George Lopez. I think you should do that, George. I think Rye would like that. Yeah, that auction, like I was saying, literally, it's like a week-long auction. They have it online, but when the auction ends, you have the next day. It's got to be picked up at the end of by the end of the day. They got a window sometimes. Like I had to pick that mill up. I won it Thursday. Had to be picked up Friday by 3:00. I think Rye would like that a lot, George. Yeah, so it was fun. I had to run down there, and then the trailers that I do have has got stuff all on it, so I couldn't use my normal trailer. And then it was like a huge dilemma trying to get something to put it on and all that. So literally ended up using the 350 and sitting it in the back of the truck. And the mill's right around 3,500 pounds. So right at the bed capacity. And mills are very, very, very top heavy. So it was pretty interesting trip. But I got it moved and got it back. So that is not a problem. I do got something I'm going to go over. And if anyone's got any questions, I can throw them in there. Do you need me to do your live DJ, Rye? I can do the live DJ for you. I can make my own beats and all that for you, Rye. But I was going to go over, and I'm going to make another video anyways with this, but this is normally the person that asked. They watch the lives even throughout the week. So this is for you. They were asking about thermal printers. Now, there are lots and lots of thermal printers out there. And I'll try to do a more in-depth video on the other one. Some people like Rye's got the Dynamo. They work great. Dynamos are slow. And they're a little pricey. And you're stuck using their paper. So that's the big, big negative about the Dynamo. So I don't like them for that reason. The one I'm using right now is the ROLLO, and the ROLLO is fairly cheap. The nice thing about that, it doesn't have a built-in paper, so you can use roll paper or you can use the shelved paper, I guess you'd call it, where it's in the box where it's not on a roll, so it's accordion. There we go. That's what it would be called. It's accordion style paper in the box. So all I do is have the box sitting behind it, and the paper just pulls out. There are a few styles of that. You don't have to use the ROLLO. The ROLLO does not have really any software with it. All you do is set the driver up, and you print from anything out there. You just tell it the size, and it prints it. You can go in there. You can right-click. You can go in and dial in the settings on how dark you want the ink or how light you want it, and the speed. They all contribute to how dark the color or image will look. On the other ones I've had a Zebra thermal printer. I have a Zebra thermer with a roll printer on that, and I'll go over that in the video and show it. But I bought that one, and then my other Zebra I was given from Dynamos can't print UPS labels. Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm not a huge fan of the Dynamo, but they do market it really well. there's a lot of, hey Lily, how's it going? There's a lot of drawbacks to the Dynamo, in my opinion, for the price and all that. Um, but a lot of people have them just because literally they're at Staples. They're everywhere local. But if you're buying one, Rollo's not like, there are other ones in that same category as the Rollo that are out now that I probably would maybe go with them instead. The Rollo's never had no issues with it. It's super simple, super easy to use. But there are a few of them that's got. Yeah, I'm looking for a new one. The Rollos are running pretty good sales, right? And then there's a few other like Chinese made ones like that Amazon has on there that I've used, and I know people that use them. They work good. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just they're a newer company, so it's hard to know how well the support will be if you have any issues. Um, Rollo's been around a little while, so they've got a little bit better support if you have any issues. But it's kind of totally up to you which one's on that. But the other thing too is, like I said, UPS used to give them free and depending on your account, like I've got it free. When the person make the video for it, they ask about it. They are charging, or they said it's $3, I think a week or a month for the to use their printer. So what I would do too is, if that's what they tell you, what I would do is check FedEx also, because FedEx does it too. Anyone here near Coppell, Texas? Hey, Beard Box. How about the Mabel one that looks exactly like the Rollo? Yeah, Beard Box. That's what I was saying. There's that one. There's another one too, and I don't know the name. They're decent. If they're, the big thing too is like what I would say is check to see which one's got the better price when it comes down to some of them. Because like Rollo, when I was checking the other day, they've got like on the Amazon, because they sell through Amazon a lot. They've got like links where it'll be like 20% off, and you just click that little box if you're a Prime member. So then you're taking 20% more off of that. So if it's like, I think it's 150 or 160 for the Rollo. So when you do the 20%, that's 20. So it's about 30 something dollars you're saving, $30 to $40 off of that. So then it drops it down a little bit less. Hey, Patty. Lily's in Texas. I don't know how close. I don't know much about the state of Texas, so I can't really answer that one. But yeah, that's the other thing, is there are a lot of good ones out there. Zebras are amazing. Like, not the animals, but the zebra printers. I have some of them. Don't use them really much anymore. Just because, for instance, my one, it's the drivers are out of date, and you can find like little driver hacks. Maybe Santa will bring Rye one if he's good. Yeah, Rye's getting a bag of coal. That's what he's getting. Santa don't like Rye. But yeah, the advantage, and like I said, you can check, like zebras are nice, are way overpriced. They're 300, 400, even higher on some of them, 600 on like some of these bigger models they have. They have a lot of features. The downside too, though, is like if you go on eBay, you can find like it's like the Z, I think 2224 or something like that. So one I used to have that has the ribbon capability. So the advantage of that is you can print labels that are not thermal labels, because what it does the same. I want coal, need to barbecue. And there you go, Rye. Well, I'll send you some coal this week, Rye. What are you going barbecue, Rye? Are you going to get some of that beef from Texas and make some steaks, or? But like on, so the nice thing with, and there are other printers besides the Zebra that has the thermal roll with it. You just spend a lot more for that. But what that does is, if let's say your heating element in the thermal goes out, well, you'd still need a thermal element. But let's say you don't have thermal labels, because you can buy labels that are cheaper than thermal labels. So if you have them labels, what you can do is if you run it through the ribbon one, then you can press on that. They also make printers that are called ribbon printers that literally like Miss America awards and all that stuff, model or whatever, pageants. There we go. Pageant ribbons. They actually print gold thermal on there, and literally you just load that roll of ribbon in there, and you put it whatever, and it prints it sideways through the sash or on the little parts. You can buy different color ribbons when you do the ribbon printers, and that they're using the thermal printing also. So they use that also. There is thermal printers that print CMYK also. What's up, Liberty? How's it going, Juan? So yeah, there's that kind of thermal printers. But in general, I would seen an awesome print company closing and being auctioned. That's pretty cool. Juan, are you auctioning off your store now, Juan, or? But yeah, like, so the other printers, I mean, depending on what you're doing, like if you're not doing pageant ribbons, you don't really need the ribbon printers. If you don't, the amount of that, Juan, where's my stuff? Lily says, yeah, Juan, where's my stuff? Where's Lily's stuff? Who else, Lily? I'm gonna throw this out. Where's Denise's stuff? But yeah, so like the ribbon one, and you got to buy them ribbon coils, and it rolls up, and when they're done, so you can't reuse them. So that's kind of a negative with that. So I'm not really big on them. But it's a feature that you get with the Zebra. So like in case you have another label, because then you can get even cheaper labels that aren't the thermal labels that you can run in it. So it does have an advantage, but then printers become very, very pricey that have that feature, and it's kind of pointless. And then, like I said, check with FedEx, because FedEx and UPS were giving them free at one time as long as you got a contract with them. Like I said, I've got one from them. Don't really use it much anymore. And then for what I print out of here, I use the Rollo just because at that time there wasn't a lot of the, like, Rollo was the only other one that did the thermal printing that wasn't really the Zebra brand. And it was one of the more popular ones when I started looking. Now there are a lot more than the Rollo brand. So check them out, see what's out there. And I'll throw some when I do the video too, covering the different ones and kind of the pluses and minuses about them. But yeah, like I said, always check to see if there's any discounts. Rollo chocolate. Yeah, them are good too with the caramel in the middle, rye. So when do you think you'll be home, Rye? Hey, Lily, another thing too, keep your eye out, Lily. Your shirt was sent out, and did send another thing in there for you also. So keep an eye out on that. I did the other video. It'll probably air sometime this week, so I got other videos I got to put out. But I did the other video on making the blackberry jelly. But I ended up, when I did it, I really, like, it was too hard to film some of the things. So literally it's just a tutorial of me talking, showing a few things. Anyone need a iHome Bluetooth optic mouse? Walmart has them clearance $1. I'll mail it, just pay shipping. Caramel. You mean caramel? So what's the difference, Rye, between caramel and caramel? besides Caramel Anthony, the basketball player, maybe, but I think I will be home Thursday. You able to eat normal food then, Rye, when you get home? We put it this way, Rye. Do you like jelly? And do you want some blackberry or blueberry jelly? The blueberry is more of a jam because it's the difference between jelly and jam is one you use the whole fruit, the other one you separate the seed and the mass out of it, and you just use the juice. Some things I don't know, just pronounced differently. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. I do think one of them are more healthier. Lily, the caramel or the Jello shots. Well, it doesn't have that in it, Rye. So, but I know some people like where Juan eats healthy, so he won't eat jelly because it ain't sugar free. There's nothing sugar, or there's nothing, no sugar in that. It's literally cups of sugar. That's how you make that stuff. That's what makes it good. I could say it was organic sugar, but sugar's all made from sugar from the sugar cane plant. So, but it's not corn syrup, so it's made from the actual sugar cane. I think it is, anyways. I just use it's the normal bag sugar. Mira, how's it going? And then I do have a video too, Lily. I do have the direct film printer video. Me, come, what? See, I'm doing good. I'm trying to translate. Trying to translate Lily's Spanish. Was it? I don't know the next year, Lily. Lily, he's been saying that about my video, that he was going to make it next year, and the other stuff. And it's been like 2 years now. So I think that ink that I sent him done dried up. And then I think the sublimation ink dried up too. That could be a good video, though, how to bring ink back to life. I said, even if Juan makes fun of me and Mira. Next year is not here yet. Yeah, well, the direct-to-film is pretty impressive. I've been printing a lot of things. I've got it kind of dialed in. So I might start taking orders in the near future. I'm not sure. It's extremely fast, but I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. I get a lot of emails from people. I'm just not sure if I want to send it up. Lily said she wants a jumbo jack with cheese, no onions. Right. How did you know that? How did you know that's how I like my jumbo jack? Yeah, the nearest Jack's for me is Nashville, so I don't believe they're going to deliver. So what's a jumbo jack? Because normally I just get chicken. I need some DTF prints. Email me Beard Box and let me see what you need, and let me see if I can maybe fit it in. I'm not. LOL. That's how I get it. No, Rye gets a kitty meal. Don't let him lie. Yeah, I don't have none of the ones I printed the other day. Printed a bunch of little things, and then I'm still learning even more stuff about it. That's my big thing. It's like I want to know everything about it, and some of it's not really necessary. Like I want to know how to, for instance, on the film, I don't have one sitting here. Most people, when they print the direct to film, they just print the solid. There's ways to do halftones, and I want to get that dialed in because you can use the shirt color then. Hey, Pam, how's it going? Is he staying busy up there or over there? But the big thing too, like some things like this right here, that's a spot color print. So there's, even if you screen printed it, you would do it spot color. But there are other prints, like when you do the more realistic photos, you can do it in the halftone, or you can use the shirt color, like the black or whatever, and use that for the shirt color, which will give it more of kind of like what you do in screen printing. A lot, depending on how you're printing, you might not print black. If it's on a black shirt, red, you might not print the red, but like you can separate it that way, but you can rasterize it and do it in the halftones. What that does is it does it just like when you're screen printing. So it's going to do all the halftone dots. And so the nice thing about that is instead of being a solid section of the transfer or just like screen, it'd be a solid, when you screen print that, it's all solid. But it would be like the very small halftone dots. It would be like if you're doing a photo. And so the advantage of that is every little part bends, so you don't have, like, a good example. This is screen printed. This is the Goon Life shirt. But this is solid blue. So it's solid all over the whole thing. So when it bends, it's, it's there, but it's a soft print how we printed it. But you when you come run your hand across, you feel ink, and then you feel the void where the black's at. If you put it in dots, you can make it a lot smaller and manipulate it. It'll feel even more softer, put it that way. I sold a bunch of tumblers this week. Nothing else. As long as you're moving product, though, that's always good. I mean, it's one of them things. Some weeks will be better than others. The other thing, too, a lot of states, first they dropped the mask thing. And now, like in my state, the governor issued it's not a decree yet again, but he's pretty much making masks come back. And a lot of states are doing that, even if you are vaccinated. So that could be another thing that picks back up. We slowed down a bunch on masks, but this past week we did sell more than we have been selling. So I don't know if that's a sign that more people are requiring masks and gonna make everyone wear them, or if it's just the hype and some people panicked and bought some more. So I don't know. That's amazing. I haven't sold anything. My printer is still at Juan's house. He hasn't sent you the prints yet either, has he, Lily? So you could at least press them. the printer's not there. Remember, they got lost in that order where was it Epson never sent them to him. So if you got your printer when he gets the printers in. I'm sick of masks. Yeah, that I am too, Pam. But if it if it picks up and then people order them, I'm gonna have to keep stocking them. I just keep what people want, but it's one of them things that it's money's money on that. But like I said, I'm not gonna go overboard with them. So if it does pick up, I'm gonna keep my numbers on the lower side and then just go by that. I know I can get them within about 7 days. So if so, I'll be back ordered on some because I don't want to have too much like I did before. Like when the last thing ended, I had over 1,000 of every style. So nothing at all. Oh no, he got another one. And his last live, he said he had it. Well, no, on his last live, he was talking about his embroidery machine because they went and picked up the what's it called? The serger machine. Is that what you're talking about, Lily? The embroidery? Because I was on the live, unless he said it at the very end, because I had to cut out and go to bed early. The street lights came on, so it was my bedtime. And he showed the printer too. I didn't remember seeing that, Lily. I'll have to go back. I thought I was on it for the hour plus, so I must have missed it. I'm racking my brain about investing in the embroidery machine. It's a lot of money. Yeah, I did, Pam. I went with which hopefully I've got it here. It's at the other shop. I'm going to try to do videos on it. I went with that foreign company, but I went with the double head. They have single heads, but I'm pretty big on I know like my other embroidery machine. It was at the end. Okay, that's why, Lily. I didn't see that. So what one did he end up getting? Because I didn't see that. Which model? Which printer does he have? Or Juan? Which other sublimation printer? I didn't know. But about the embroidery machines, like I'm big on where I had like a Chinese knockoff, like everyone has. Yeah, and like kind of like the Rokoma. I had one, the Meistergram back in the day. 2720 Eco Tank. So isn't he supposed to get like 4 of them, Lily, so that he can actually do the thing? And my only thing is like now a lot of people get the Rokoma ones. And the company, like I said, that I got mine, they have the single head. The single head's a lot less than the Rokoma, but I'm kind of waiting to I get time to get it dialed in and tweaked on that because it's been forever since I embroidered. But I kind of did the numbers thing. And I was like, let me look at it this way: am I better to go with a cheaper embroidery machine new or buy a used one, and it still might cost more than the new one, and the advantages and disadvantages, the cost and all that, because it's like I'd like to have a Tajima or a Barrett, a brand new one, but when I look at that price, it would take like I wouldn't say years, but the amount of time that it would take to pay that back compared to paying back some of these other ones. Like I paid $27.20 without Lily's name. Hey, what's up, poor man screen printing? How's it going? So did you end up buying any Robin Hood stock, poor man, or? So did you only get the 12721? Or are you gonna? Is that the ones that you're gonna do the test with, the 2720s? But yeah, like the embroidery machine though, it's one of them big things like weighing it all out. Nah, you're all Omi. Yeah, Omi's been bringing up a bunch of that stuff. Been watching the videos and all the lives on all that stuff, and then the Comic-Con week and all that. I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, I wonder how many other companies are going to be doing like the NFTs and all that stuff, or if like more people are going to go exclusive to certain ones. It's going to be kind of a big thing to see how it all goes on that. But yeah, with the embroidery though, it's like I weigh it out and I'm like, I could buy, for instance, like I paid, I think it was $7,000 shipped to my door for the double head. And that's everything included. They gave me magnetic hoops for the double head. They've got Disney. They just haven't announced it yet. That's what I was going to say. That's what I thought you said. What was it? Wednesday, I think it was. That's my issue. I don't have the money up front. And they're offering 130 or 130 a month for 5 years interest free. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like Racoma's got that. They've been doing them deals on that. And that's the thing too, is like if they'll let you finance, and I will say this, there are other companies that are doing financing. It's hard to get that kind of financing though. Joe loves his Racoma. And Matt's got one. He did a video. He said he liked it. He said it was a learning curve for him on that. I think it was 2 or 3 videos ago that he was talking about it, about the learning curve, and there's a lot that he's picked up on it. Goonlife says Racoma is trash. Hey, look, Goonlife, I'm wearing your shirt. One thing, Goonlife, update your store because you posted in your live, or not your live, but your Instagram the other day where you got the other hats, but you don't got them. Or that's not proper. You don't have them on the site yet. You only have the camel, but the question is, you have the camel in stock also. Hey, Martin Jones, how's it going? But yeah, and then the other person that uses the Racoma is Mike from NovaWorks. He uses the Racoma, and but he went with their $high digitizing software. I'll update it later today. Thanks. No problem. I seen it not on there, Goon Life, and I was gonna do a purchase, and I wanted to at least make sure what inventory was up to date. I didn't know if you had the camos or if you had the other ones, because you had some pretty cool colors lately, some nice colorways. So what do you recommend, Goon Life? I was going to say Goon Life's going to recommend what she just posted at Barrett or Tajima. That's his kind of to go to. Like to me, like I said, I'm waiting to get my other one in. Like the hard thing is when you look at the number of a new Barrett or Tajima, and you can buy a used one, but if you eliminate the factor of a used one because you're still, if something goes wrong, you don't have a warranty with it. So I always look at it like on the new price upfront cost, and it's kind of like screen presses. There's some okay screen presses that are cheaper than other ones. Some of them are more expensive. And it's a numbers thing. It's just my thing is when I'm spending like a Barrett gonna be right around 30,000, and that's for pretty much a single color. When you all in and all that stuff, and you get your hoops and all that, you can buy quite a few of these other ones for that price. So it's to me, it's a numbers thing. I mean, if you got money and you can pay that, that's fine. If you don't have the money, though, it's one of them things. I kind of look at it this way personally, and it's just me, but I look at it as on the embroidery side. If you want to get into it, understand that is way harder than screen printing, and there are no videos out there covering any of it. So if you run into issues, you're on your own figuring it out pretty much. There's people like Ramon and Juan and all that can help a little bit. Ramon knows a lot about embroidery, but there's not many videos out there. So that's one of the downsides about embroidery. The other thing though, a new one, a lot of them, like even like the Racomas and the one I'm getting, they all have got support. And it's like some of them 6 months, 3 months, a year. So if they've got the support, that's another plus side. Now, granted, you could have the support, and I mean, they can give you support, but it takes 3 months to get you parts after something happens. It doesn't do good either. Racoma's not that bad. I'm just using that as an example. But that's the thing, too, is I always kind of look at the pluses and minuses on things like that. But I also weigh the numbers, because like if I could buy 4 of one machine over the other, so even if I did get like a lemon on one and the other 4 work, then I'm coming out ahead. The other thing too with embroidery, once you start getting into it, and even when I used to do it, here's what my huge dilemma was. And even now, a 2 head's not enough, but it's all I wanted to spend on an embroidery machine. But a 2 head versus single head, once, and a good example, like Rye dropped his last video, I think this morning it came out, where he was talking about embroidery. He's been busy with embroidery nonstop, running nonstop on it. Because like when you have a single head, let's say that embroidery pattern's 10 or 15 minutes long, and some of them can be that long. So you're only going to get 4 hats every hour if it's 15 minutes. Or let's say it's a 10-minute, then you're going to get 6 hats. So if you've got a 100 hat order, now you've got to figure that out. So if you're doing 6 an hour, you're going to put a lot of time in to get them done. So that's the thing with embroidery, is a single head. When this is what got me, I wouldn't say in trouble, but this is how I met Juan. Is I had the orders and I couldn't fulfill them with the single head. It just, the numbers didn't add up. When you get a hat order for 100 hats and you tell customers 2 to 3 weeks at longest on an order, and you're doing other stuff, you're not going to be able to always fulfill them orders. A lot of customers are fine with that. Or if you're just starting out and you've got time in between, let's say you're not screen printing today, you can do the hats. That's perfectly fine. Kind of like what you just said, hey, I'm a small home-based business. I've been embroidering for years, so that's not that much to learning curve for me. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, Pam. I never embroidered, or like I took sewing in high school because you had to, or junior high. But it was literally, I made a T-shirt. We had to make a T-shirt. It was a tiled T-shirt. But yeah, I think it was one sleeve was longer. It was pretty bad. But that was my extent, and that was way, way back in the day. That was the last time I learned anything about sewing. But that's one of the things too, is that learning curve's not bad, understanding the tensions and all that, if you can pick it up. I didn't know none of that. So for me, literally, there was nothing online. There was no videos of people like, hey, you need to use this, you need to use that. This is how you should tension them. Even the devices on it, none of that was out there. So that really got me stuck. And then the only other thing that it was too is, like I was saying, I get an order come in for 100 hats. And if I'm running a screen print or I'm having the other guys run that, I can't have them stop to run the load of hat for me. And so I would get caught up with that, and it would take forever to get them orders out. And then if I had a mess up, it wasted 15 minutes of my time on that one hat. So what I ended up doing is literally I got a hold of Juan, and that's how I met Juan way back in the day. I just subbed my hats out to Juan when I got big orders. And then eventually I got rid of the embroidery machine, that one, because it did shirts perfectly fine. Hats, I had to almost babysit it. I was getting thread breaks almost every hat, every other hat. And it was continuous thread breaks. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I know now, or at the beginning when I was doing it, I didn't know. Like literally, I thought you could run the same speed on the hat as you could a shirt. And sometimes you can, most of the time you can't. If you want to get a better embroidery out, or you're going to run a little bit slower. And a lot of that stuff I didn't know when I first started. There was no one out there to teach me. When I bought the machine, the lady, she did a hat. She did the other thing. She never changed the speed. So she's like, oh, you'll be perfectly fine. Just run it all the same. And then the digitizing was a big factor too. Got to go buy one. All right, see you, Jesse. And so that was the other thing with that, is learning the whole digitizing thing. I forget what software they gave me. It was a very high dollar software, but it wasn't Wilcom. And it was nothing but junk on that software. Their support was horrible when you would call them. They couldn't help you. didn't like, they're like, oh, you can do puff. You try to do it on there, it came out horrible. And then I found out right away, if you're not good at that, that's like, it's crap in, crap out. So if you got a crappy digitized file, it's going to look like crap coming out. So then I right away found out, hey, send it out. Guy used and still use on things. He's in Brazil, but he doesn't take no new people right now. He's backed up. So, but his price was really good. It was like $5 or $10 for pretty much any file I sent him. I mean, he had a thread count thing, but he would embroider it out and send you a photo of it to show you what it looked like to make sure it came out. And for instance, too, like he asked a lot of questions. Hey, what are you putting it on? What style hat? What thing? What shirt? What style shirt? And what he would do is do a test on it, and then if you're saying, hey, I need it for a left chest and a hat, sometimes you'd get two files, and one would be for the shirt and one would be for the hat, because how he would make them. And so, but it was stuff like that I didn't know, because like when you screen print, if you're printing on the back, you're printing on the front, you're still doing the same thing. Your screen size is the same. Everything's the same. Embroidery, though, your thread count can change. There's so many little variables, or how he did it and all that, that they were slightly different. And it was stuff that even till this day, I don't really know the difference or how to make a good embroidery file. So even when the other one's all set up and running, I'll be using someone else to do the digitizing. But that's the other negative, Pam, is the digitizing side of it. And the Wilcom software is pretty pricey. The Racoma, they've got their own software. Mike uses it. And then I know Joe, I think Joe sends some of it out, because I know he does have the software. I don't think he's using it for everything. I think he's using someone to digitize. Do you know if he's using someone, Juan or Rye, either one of you two? Because I think Joe is using a digitizing person. But yeah, that's the other negative about it. And then the other thing you got to look at too, like when I got my embroidery machine at first, we had so many orders before I got it. I got that in, and literally it sat 3 months with no orders. It's just, we hit a slow spell and people didn't want hats. And so when that happened, I mean, you start learning and working on other stuff for your own, making hats for your shop, whatever. But that's what I ran into also. And so something like that, if you're paying the loan on it, it's not bad, but remember, you might not have that customer for that time. So if you're finding, which that amount of money, it's not bad. Most people can make that money in a month. So it's not like it's a huge amount. It's not like you're like a mortgage on a house or something. You might pay $1,000 or something like that. So, yeah, Joe uses a guy to digitize for him. Yeah, I figured he did, Martin, because I mean, it's one of them things. It's not that Joe couldn't, but I know all the work he does. But it is a very complicated thing to get very good quality. Like, I would use the program to do names and all that stuff in the software, your basic stuff. Like I had 80-something fonts. So I would use that in the software. And I would use that to do like your basic names or your basic stuff that didn't really matter. Like if someone would bring a hat and they wanted their kid's name on it, or the backpack during school, that was a big thing. You give them like 5 choices and then you throw a kid's name on it. I would use it for that. But I wouldn't use, like, if it was someone's logo, I tried it and it didn't come out good. He doesn't hide it. Yeah, I didn't know. Like I said, I know some, like, I'm trying to think who else I watch that digitizes or uses someone else, but they don't really say it. But I know Joe, I didn't know if he said anything or not about it. But I mean, it's a big learning curve. And so, like I said, if you don't have that down, no matter what embroidery machine you have, you could have the world's best embroidery machine. And if you don't have a good digitizing file, it's going to come out looking like crap. So that's why I would say that. I think, Pam, I mean, that's not a bad choice, because that financing is a very good thing. And if you don't have all the money up front, that's a very good offer. They do give the tech service with that. And then like where you've done embroidery before and all that. And then like where you have a little bit more time maybe to work on it, I think that's not too bad. Like I said, It's kind of the thing it comes down to where a lot of people either like it or hate it. Like for instance, like Goon Life, he's big on the Baradin and Tajima ones. They're amazing embroidery machines. They're very pricey. So if you're just starting out, that's a big investment to dump that much money on it. So like it's kind of like an embroidery, or I would compare it. Here's the thing, how I would compare that. I would probably go with like the Racoma. I went with the other brand just because they didn't have they do have financing now, but when I did it, they didn't. But I paid cash up front for mine. But I wanted a two head, and I didn't want to pay the price of a Baradin or Tajima. But I compare it this way: it's like when you get into screen printing, most people start with a manual press. They don't go buy a auto press. They don't, and even when people jump into autos, you got Shane from SE, Shane or Sean from SE. Literally, his auto that he bought is, I believe it's a 6-color. It's a 6 only press. So you got one loading, one unloading, and so that is one of the things that most people's like, oh, it worked perfectly fine. If you've ever had an auto, you will understand that you want more colors. Literally, the end of that week, you'll be like, I wish I would have got more presses, more colors. So the same thing with embroidery is no one starts like you can go buy that. You could go buy a 8-head Tajima or Baradin. Very few people do, because that to me is not a good investment just to go buy it because you want it. Build up the business, build up the clientele, build up to what you need. If you've got that much money where you can throw them things around, that's perfectly fine. But if you have that much money laying around, you should pick a different career, because screen printing and embroidery and all that stuff, you don't get rich off it really quick. You're not going to make millions of dollars in the first year. So people understand that. So like that's one of the things too is I don't have a problem starting out with one of these other machines. And like I said, I mean, the reason they're running these deals is it's very lucrative to someone that wants to get into it, that don't want to spend that kind of money up front, because you can make the payments. It's very like you said, what was it, 130 or 150? 130. Okay. So 130 a month. Literally that is nothing really at all for someone to have to scrape up to pay. I'm originally from Michigan, and we have cans. Up there, you get 10 cents a can. Other places, they don't recycle, or if they do, they pay it by the pound. But in Michigan, I could have gone and collected cans and paid for that $130 just by taking cans back. So that's a very lucrative and very catchy thing to draw you in, because they're doing that 5 years, no interest. And it's good on their behalf, because they know they're going to get more machines out there. They're going to sell the machines. It's good marketing, good draw. And so like I would do that if I didn't probably go with mine, the one I did. I went with either way, though. I needed a 2-head. I didn't want to go with the single head. Hello, Marina. I do too. Did I miss something, Juan? Or Rye? Sorry, Rye. Because I'm not seeing a bunch of... I only seen a few comments. But the other thing too is, like I said, and then you might be able to find a used one if you have some money laying around. It can be hard to find sometimes. Like the thing is when I wasn't looking for stuff, it seems like I find it. When I'm looking for stuff, I never find it. Yeah, more colors, and why someone will be blessed in 2 years with a company upgrading screen printing machines. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Pam. It's like, so even if you got that, let's say you run into some issues, you could easily make that much in a month by doing the hats, the 130 to pay for it, or in shirts and all that, because there is money there. It's not that it's not lucrative. So I would do that. And then, like I said, because here's the thing too, if it does good for you, you can upgrade later on. But the other thing, like I was saying too, it's it doesn't help to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. I know, like on the screen printing, what I tell people too is like, now don't go buy that Blue Press, the Amazon and the eBay one. Don't buy that. But what I would tell someone, look at, because for the price of that, anyways, you can sometimes find presses on Craigslist, people that are eBay, people that are selling presses that were used. But at least get something to start in the business, whether if you're in screen printing or embroidery, sublimation, whatever. Oh, wait a second. That's a nifty looking shirt. Yeah, it's pretty nifty. There should be one. I don't know if it's at your porch or not, Rod. I got to check the tracking, but it went out. You got a care package, Rye, so it should be there. You do, Wanda. Everyone that won the thing, all their stuff was sent this week, so I might buy a Ryonet 150 or whatever that small one they have. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's one of the things. It's you work your way up. A good example. If anyone's watched Rye from the beginning, he started with the Ryonet. He moved up to the other Ryonet. I think he had something before the Ryonet, and then he moved up to the Anatol. You normally, I wear a U small. he wears a 24 months, a 3T. But that's what happens, and that's the same thing as embroidery would go. You normally progress. So you buy something and move up. You buy something, move up. Like a lot of people will buy like the embroidery machines that will do flat objects. You got to change the thread out. Walmart has them. And a lot of people will start in that and then move their way up. And I don't know her name. No Juan knows her name. A lot of people on here follow her. She's got an insane amount of subscribers. She does the Etsy stores and all she does is embroidery stuff and makes tutus. She makes a killing, and she started out with like one machine, and now she's got, I don't know how many machines, 8 or 9 machines now. She bought a DTG machine. She's killing it in the game. And I'm sure someone on there you go. Thank you, Rye. Angela Jasmine. Yeah, check. I hope I said that name right. Angela, if you're watching, if I badgered it, subscribe to me. But yeah, she's killing it. So like, I mean, and that was my other thing too, is like you can start, like she didn't start with, I don't remember which one. Was it a Happy? I think she said she started with. Yeah, I finally got a name right. But yeah, like I think it was a Happy she said she started with. But like it's one of the things is like get your foot in the door and get going, because it's one of the things too. If you don't have it, you're not making any money with it. You can sub things out, and that's perfectly fine too. But if you eventually you'll hit the point, like for instance now, I could still use Juan. Juan though for other people, Juan is not taking contract embroidery for anyone else right now. So Juan's full. So like if I needed more stuff, I'm gonna have to find someone else because Juan's busy right now. So that's the thing too, is like there's a point where you might need to find someone, or you've done an, like let's say I'm dealing with Juan, and Juan's doing great. Juan's machine goes down, and which Juan's got multiple machines, but if your person only has a set number of machines, and eventually let's say your numbers are exceeding their numbers of what they can produce for you, then that's a time to maybe say, hey, maybe I should do it myself, bring it in-house instead of out-house. The bathroom. But Juan, that's the worst name in the world. Yeah. Hey, Rye, I would have a Rye hat, except you never sent me one. And Juan made one with the puff Rye and never sent it. It's sitting in that box. So eventually when I get a hat, I'll have a hat to match something. But by the time Juan sends me it, like I think I'll lose all my hair or they'll all be gray. So but it's kind of like the embroidery is like like the lasering. Pam, what I tell people, like the $500 laser, will it work? Yes. Can you do things with it? Yeah. Can you do super elaborate stuff? No. I have ran multiple kinds of lasers, fiber lasers, YAG lasers, CO2 lasers, different powers, different wattages, super high-end ones. I might release a video. My second video I ever did on YouTube was, I think it was 14 years ago, and it was on a laser that I made. We made a laser when I was in school. Someone wanted, and this is way back, what it was is some local lady, because you get contracted to do jobs, she needed to cut material. And we had to come up with a way for her to put fabric in there and cut patterns out for her to make stuff. So I came up with a way to do lasers. It was thrown together. We were cutting blue jeans. She was making, I think, little purses or something like that. But we had to come up with a sample and figure out what was a way to make it. Fabric cutter would have worked, but you would have to have vacuum fixtures. There are other ways to cut it, but back then, this is, like I said, 14 years ago, technology wasn't as advanced as we are now. Not everyone has 3D printers on their desktops and all that. So it was, think of something simple. The laser to me was the simplest way. But lasers were not popular then. I don't even think we had Chinese lasers here at that time. So literally I bought a CO2 tube. And that's when tubes are really, really very inefficient with the life cycle of a CO2 tube compared to the RF CO2, which is the ones in the metal case. And that's like I was saying too, on the lasers, I have CO2 and CO2 lasers. You have, like I said, like two styles. You have a glass tube and you have the RF style, which is in a metal enclosed case. The metal enclosed case is almost 5 to 10 times longer lifespan because how it works. Glass is always emitting. The chemicals will eventually go out. I've talked to some people that say no. That's been in the laser business. The manufacturers I've talked to say they do have a life, and they're not the same as an RF tube. You have different start points and frequencies, how they cycle at the beginning, because all you're doing is exciting the gas molecules inside of there, and it's not pure CO2. CO2 lasers are not just CO2. There's other gases in there, about 3 or 4 gases, depending on the manufacturer. That being said, there are mirrors on both ends. You are exciting the molecules inside of there. They bounce off the mirrors, and when they have enough energy, they shoot through that. They come out, and that's how a CO2 laser works. So the difference too is when they're doing that, just leave Walmart purchases a universal charger. Just leaving Walmart, purchased a universal charger for my laptop so I can start embroidering again. That's really good, Lily. Did you steal the charger? I think Lily stole it. That's what she meant, leaving Walmart. She purchased a pack of gum, and then that charger was in her purse. I'm just saying. But yeah, and so what happens too on a CO2 laser? Let's say you got a 60 watt. You can run it, let's say, at 10% power. There is a point where it will not cut, and you can see the gas inside there. It excites and it turns like a pinkish purple when the laser's running. In the back on a RF laser, you cannot see that. It's all enclosed in metal. But there's a point where the voltage, if you put a meter on there, it is and then the wavelength, it is not a consistent wavelength like it should be. You have a startup voltage where it's got to catch and excite it, and the RF will go down in them lower ranges better than the glass tube ones. So what you do is on that, yeah, you can buy a bigger laser and then just run it at the lower thing. But if you're trying to do something that's got to go that low, because some things you're not always cutting, sometimes you're not always engraving. You're doing vice versa. But so that's the other thing too. But and then, like I said, the tubes are fairly cheap nowadays. But that's where that falls into the same category as the embroidery machines. Is it Universal Laser, the Universal brand, or Tortec? There's a bunch of them out there. I've had a bunch of them. I've had probably 3 or 4 high-end ones, and then some Chinese ones. I've ran. That's and like here's a good example too. When you run fiber lasers or CO2 or fiber lasers or YAG lasers, a lot of that is all overseas made anyways. There's not a U.S. company. They manufacture them or assemble them here, but a lot of that technology is overseas. So you're stuck with looking at that when it comes to fiber lasers, for instance. So it falls into the same category as the embroidery machines. Can you buy the little blue laser that's $400 or $500 on eBay? Yeah, it will cut. You will be able to cut the air fresheners. Shameless plug. Link down below for stuff down below, guys. Click my Amazon link also and buy something off of Amazon. You don't even got to buy what I put on there. Just use my link because I'm an affiliate, so I will get kickback from that if you guys don't mind. But yeah, like I said, that little one will work. Downside, it's like only like an 8.5 by 11. So if you're not cutting things too big, if you're just etching, like some of them I don't even know if you could put a rotary attachment in them smaller ones. Nope. Charged it. Oh, I never gonna finish paying this credit card. I understand that, Lily. I've ran up a lot of money at one time, and I try to avoid using cards if I don't have to. But yeah, and that's like I was saying with the CO2 lasers, comparing them to that. Is it worth buying a big one? Like perfect example, Juan loves his CO2 laser. They are here in the States, but all that stuff is made in China. They're just importing it and then rebranding it, packaging it. They all do that on them glass tube lasers. The software is the same. Even the U.S. Like, the only ones that are different is Universal and all of them. The U.S. made ones with they're using RF ones. Every other one is not using. They're all using. It's not light burn, but it's whatever it's called. And they're all using that same control pad. Which is nice because if you learn how to use that one, you can use pretty much any of the Chinese ones. But the US ones, a lot of them will work with Corel or Photoshop or Illustrator direct plugins. And there are ways to convert a older US one where some of them softwares, like some of the older, like one video you guys watched where I think I was using my Universal in that video I did where I was using Surmark on it. When I did that video, that one I had to have a earlier model of Windows. It couldn't run on Windows 10. That laser, the software was that old. The laser I had a long time. So that's the thing you got to look at too. Is some things, like I said, when you're running, and even though it's a better laser, you've got to run. If you bought a used one, you're going to run older software. So vice versa. There's pluses and minuses. I like closed tube lasers better, like RF style laser. But at the end, hindsight 2020, at the end of the day, if someone's like, "Hey, I just want to get into it," I'm not going to suggest buying a $20,000 to $30,000 laser or $18,000, depending which models and all that you buy. I'm going to suggest maybe buy a $500 or $1,000 laser. Get your foot in the door, see if you like it, see if it's going to work for you. Because the other thing too with that stuff, none of them, a 60 watt is 60 watts on the power output. Yeah, the lasers burn hotter than that. You never run something at 100%. You will burn that laser up, especially in a glass tube, way quicker than you would in RF. They're not made to run 100%. That being said, though, there are galvo systems. So it moves, or they're not running galvo, they're running gantry systems. So it runs back and forth. The only way you're going to get it quick is if you're running servos. Goon Life's, his is a servo driven. It's a US made one. Servo ones run way quicker, but you're still limited because what happens when you run an object, it got to go to the end and come back. So if you're laying something out, like for instance, let's say I'm printing this paper here. It's got to go all the way over here to the farthest one every time. So if I had my image turned this way, now it's got to travel that much further every pass. So sometimes you're better to turn things the other way or print one at a time, because here's the thing. And what I mean about that is, see the gaps here in between? So if I turned it this way, I might have more gaps. Like right here, there's dead zones. So it's going to travel all over through here and not burn nothing until it gets here. So I would be better to turn it that way. So that's one thing to look at on the lasers, is layout of how you lay the image or artwork out of how it's cutting. Because if you've got it in engraved mode, it goes left to right. It doesn't contour or cut it. That's only for cutting. So if it's a vector image, it's going to cut around it. If not, it's going left, right, left, right. That's where servos accelerate. But the limitations with that is it's on a gantry system, and you can only accelerate and decelerate ahead so much. That's where galvos come in style, and that's like and there are galvo CO2 lasers. They run the RF tubes, but a galvo is mirrors, and what it does is the beam comes down, hits this mirror, and it reflects it off of this one, and they both move it, and literally it shoots the laser beam down. A perfect example, if you're ever at a cash register and you slide your little thing where it's reading the barcode, that laser is moving all around there to read that. They run a galvo head. They're running a spinning galvo head, so it's not really a true galvo. They're running a single point, but it refracts off of there. It's doing the same thing. But a galvo head's running two mirrors, left and right, and then it bounces the mirror and it hits it. Them are way faster. The downside too, though, 60 watts is only going to cut 60 watts. It doesn't matter if it's... So if you're trying to cut something, let's say you're cutting plastic, or let's say you're cutting cork. This cork, let's say it needs 30 watts to cut it. It doesn't matter, because your feed rate is going to determine how fast. Now you can slow something down to cut it, but your feed rate and your wattage are going to be the same pretty much on stuff. Now, if you're engraving, it's a different story. That's where you would accelerate and get better results with the galvo system over a gantry system on the engraving and marking. But like I said, it varies on that, which one is better. Does anyone else have any questions? It kind of went dead over there. I think I'm talking to myself sometimes, but yeah, and so on that point, like I said, which laser do I prefer? It falls into the same category. Get what you can afford to get yourself in the door. There will always be, no matter what, people like, I like this better. I like, perfect example when it comes to screen printing presses. People's like, hey, should I get the Brown, the M&R, or the Anatol on the Otto or O'Reilly? Everyone is going to have their own opinion. Some experience does matter with them, but like if someone was like, hey, I'm going to give you a free one, most of the time you're not going to say no. Or if you've got a budget, like when I first started, I had a budget. I couldn't go buy the ones I have now. I had to work my way up. But like, it's one of the things too. Like I never had a Brown Auto, but I've had Brown manual presses. They're built sturdy, but I never had good luck with them. But I've ran Brown Autos. My friends had them. I did not care for them. But when I was looking for presses, if that would have been the only thing popped up close enough to me and in the right budget, would I have bought it? Probably. Because there's a point where you'll want to move up on equipment, and you'll go and get something that might not be your dream machine or your dream press or your dream embroidery, but you're going to get it to get you to that next step closer. Like, I would never suggest for anyone to go out and buy a brand new auto press, never running a shop, never doing it completely full-time before. Same thing with the embroidery. I would not suggest going out buying a 5-head, 8-head, never doing it before full-time. I mean, if you want to waste money, go right ahead. But I suggest get what you can afford. So like on that, Pam, I would definitely do that, Pam. That's in your budget. You can afford that. You've done embroidery a little bit before. That will get you started. Because like I said, there's a point too where eventually subbing it out isn't cost effective either. That's like these other people where they do the video on the stupid color and all that stuff. Is it, can you make money with that? I mean, I guess if I charge high enough price on anything, I can make money. But what you've got to do is, even if you're doing it that way, like where Stan is huge at doing his whole, using super color instead of actually screen printing, doesn't even have a screen print, he subs it out. That's perfectly fine. You can do that if that's what you want to do. They're contract printers. There's contract companies. That's all they do is send out the contract stuff. But there's a point too. the way you make more money sometimes is bring things in-house. You get better quality control. If you're subbing out screen printing, you are at the hands of your whoever's doing the print. So, and here's what happened a few times. When I was doing screen printing, when I got hurt the first time on my right leg, I was not able to be out there. I didn't have the two people I've got right now. So what I had to do is send the work out. There's a few local places. The one I sent to, the guy, he's fairly good. He always did really good jobs for me. But what happens is he wasn't there. He was like, hey, use this person. I used the other guy, and that guy knew the people I was printing for. I've seen the guy's work, top-notch stuff when he's printing his own stuff. My stuff, I had to go through every single shirt to look at it because there were so many imperfections. And it was like he did that to sabotage it so that that company wouldn't use me. So the next time I was like, hey, I don't want to, if you're going to tell me to use someone else, I'm going to use you or no one else. Used him, well, he got backed up and took forever. And so what happens, you got to go to your customer and be like, hey, we're not going to make the deadline. And at that time, like I said, I only had the one person. I wasn't able to be out there because I couldn't stand on my foot because that's when I ruptured my Achilles, my first time. So like I said, it was one of them things. Sometimes you'll find a point where that's like embroidery. I won't use local embroidery people. I've used so many local ones and got nothing but trash out of them. If I go to there and have my own hat done, it's not bad. If I go there with an order, dropping pens and everything. Sorry, guys. You got to have pens and all that. It's like my thing. But it's one of the things on that. The local people I had a lot of issues with. But if they were printing, like if it was my brand they were printing, it came out fine. If it was something I took them and they could tell it was for something else, it was like they didn't care, or if it was like they were doing it bad so that the people wouldn't use you the next time around. So ever since then, any of the orders, it's all subbed out. If I needed it and I couldn't do it at myself. And like the same things with, like I said, at the hats, I got rid of my machines. So that's how I found Juan. I was like, it's easier to sub it out to Juan. Juan's not going to mess them up. He's not in the area. He's not competing, looking for this contract. The local people were looking for him. So what would happen too, or what they would do is, and one of my vendors called me after on the other hats, and he was like, hey, these hats look great. We got a call from so-and-so. They said they'll do them for this much. And it was that same person that I subbed out to embroider my hats. Now, it wasn't Juan, because that's why I said I don't use people in the area. Because they're going to go looking for that customer, and it's fine. It's part of business. People are going to try to undercut the next shop sometimes. It can be a cutthroat business. When people first start out, people will underprice their product and their work way less just to get a job. And then eventually then people don't last, or they find out, hey, we can't make it pricing this low. That's what happens a lot, and it's just part of it. And that's why I always tell people, if someone don't like your price and that's your price that you feel fine and comfortable with, you don't always lower your price just to please that customer, because at the end of the day, you've got to feed yourself. You've got to feed your kids and family. You're out there to make a buck. Add your value up, add your time up, add your money up. That's why I don't like doing cut vinyl stuff. The weeding time, which I know these other ones are like, hey, you can make a huge business off of cut vinyl and transfers. The thing with me, when you add up weeding time and you factor that in, and then you start looking at the cost of even, let's say, subbing out screen printing, if you can only weed something like that's super technical, so many an hour, you got to factor your time and money into it. Just because you're doing it on your spare time, it's still time that would be accounted for in the business. So if it took you 6 hours to weed all that out, what's minimum wage? Take that and times that by how many hours you put in there. And granted, you want to probably make more than minimum wage. So factor what you want to make into that price, and that will determine really quick what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Now, there are some things, too, that you got to understand. Like, for instance, embroidery, it takes 10 to 15 minutes a cap on some of these designs. Price accordingly, but remember, too, machines on that machine runs itself. I used to have a CNC shop, and that machine we would charge anywhere 120 to 150 an hour. That was the machine cost. So what we would do, though, is we would do a runtime, and that's what we would charge you. Now, here's the thing. when that machine's running itself, I can run something else. So in the machine, like we did stuff, we made specialty stuff. Can't really say, oh, well, we made, but so we made these parts, and the run time on the one was 45 minutes. The other machine, it was, I think, right around 15 minutes. So what you would do now, when you're factoring your payroll at the end of the time, I can put a guy that'll run both of them, because he can run 2 parts on the one before the other one even comes up. And a lot of times in machine shops, you'll have a guy running 3 and 4 machines, because he's standing there. And so if you only have him running the one, it's not cost effective on some things. Other things it is. So like I said, and like, I mean, the one part that we were making, it very, very, we made a lot of money off that part. It wasn't just $100-something an hour, because we were producing a finished part. So that stuff we made crazy money on. So that time you could afford to pay someone just to babysit it for a half hour and not do anything else, because if the blank that we had in there scrapped, that blank cost us more than it did for the cost of not having someone there. But factor in your time, because your time is valuable. You can't get time back. There's only 24 hours in a day. Oh man, weeding time. What you're saying is an eye-opener for me. Yeah, weeding, and that's the thing. Most people don't look at the weeding time. They're like, hey, it's part of it, but if it takes you an hour to weed something out, and this is just being hypothetical, factor that into the cost. So now, let's say it took you, let's say I printed this and I weeded all this out, all these words, which that would be horrible. I don't even think that's, as small as it is, it's not possible with a normal thing. But if I did that, or a perfect example, this box right here, if I did this office twin cord tape dispenser right here. So if I did that, let me get it in focus. All them words, because the center, the R, the O, the D, the P, the other R, and the A, and the P, all of them have got to be weeded out. Now remember, some objects are going to be easier to weed than others. Some aren't bad at all. We did these Jeep stickers, a lot of fine stuff, and the Jeep had the windows in it, had the hubs, the wheels, it was a 5-spoke hub, so you've got 5 center things. I did a tree the other day for a customer. It had 37 leaves on it. So you have to pull 37 little leaves out, because it was a solid tree and the leaves were cut out. This is the most perfect example on weeding. Let me take a drink. Tonight's sponsors, Mountain Dew Rise energy drink, Tropical Sun. Tastes like pineapple. But yeah, one of the worst things to weed, and you will have people that want it, is the United States flag. It's very simple to weed the one. You pull it straight across. Boom, it's all done. 13 stripes and stripes. But here's the tricky part. You have 50 stars that you have to weed out. Hasn't changed, and it will only get worse, because eventually we'll have 51 or 52 states. But so you've got 50 states that you have to weed every single star out. That is 50 pieces you have to touch. Now, if you make that flag the size that I have on them yellow rib, whatever my little thank you stickers are, if you make a flag, here we go. If you make a flag that size and you have to weed 50 stars out, that is miserable how small them are, because it's very delicate. If you make it bigger, yeah, if you make a flag that big, it's not bad. Another thing that's not fun, and this falls under that, because you just have to do it. You do the I pledge allegiance in the flag, where it says I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, and all the way through the flag, the Pledge of Allegiance, where people do that, and you put it in every other word. Every single one of them letters has to be weeded. So count that in, because if you're doing, let's say, a back window piece for a person, especially on that I pledge allegiance with the flag, you've got 50 stars right there that's got to be popped out. Every letter's got to be weeded out itself. Now, if you do cursive, yeah, you can kind of cheat and get lucky and it's peeling it all off. You got to make sure the centers of the letters, though, stay in there if the weeding blade's getting a little dull. So always factor that in, because if it took you, let's say, 30 minutes to weed that, and you wanted to, let's say, at least make $10 an hour, so now you're at $5 that you got to add on to that sticker. So if you quoted that sticker for, let's say, $10, Well, there's $5 right there of time. That would be your time. And now you've got material and you've got wear on the blade. So could you make money on that? Yeah, there's still a little leeway there. But you've got to always factor that in, because if you don't leave enough headroom on that stuff, you're cutting your own throat. So like, let's say you quoted that for the $5 for that sticker. Well, now you just broke even on paying yourself, and now you actually took a loss, because now you got to pay for material, you got to pay for everything else. Weeding is a thing that is not fun. That's why it's fine to get started in. You can weed out shirts all day long, but like a perfect example to pull up all these small things here and to weed around them. It's not too bad to weed around it. Like the A's got it, the D's got it. And then if you were doing a shirt like this, it's got to line up. It's a lot more time and all that. There's nothing wrong with starting out with that. And that's what I was saying too, even machines, start out with what you can afford. Start out with a plotter and cutter. That is your best thing to do. But eventually understand that when you're turning it into a business, you always, time is money. Like for instance, now I'm running LED lights. If I was running the old school fluorescent bulbs or incandescent bulbs, the voltage and power would be different. At the end of the day, I have to pay that electric bill. So factor your electric into your stuff. Now, granted, it's not a big thing. You can buy electric meters to see how much power you're actually consuming, but things do cost money. A perfect example, we were talking about the direct-to-film earlier. My direct-to-film, now most smaller ones that people have don't have this. Mine does. It was a high-end unit. It's running i3200 heads in it, 2 of them. That one has a preheater and a post heater to cure the ink as it's coming out. Where a lot of people let it sit a few minutes, or they're running it to a little heat thing before and then putting the powder on. Mine has got that built in. Well, you got to remember, them are 200 watts, 500 watts, 1,000 watt heaters on them units. That's power. That's money. You've got to factor that in, that you're using that. It's got a vacuum on that printer, and what that vacuum does is it pulls the film down and keeps it tight. Like a little 1300, the R1800s that everyone converts, they don't have that. That paper can move. Mine has a vacuum. The advantage of the vacuum over the other ones. The other ones, the wheels are touching. People have the issue with the powder sticking on the films. This is not one of mine. This is just showing you powder sticking around the films. A lot of times, that what causes that is the ink deposit, but it's also the ink bouncing up, hitting near the head because they've got it really close. Well, that film builds up static when the wheel, it's just like when you're little and you take a balloon and rub it on your hair, builds that static up. You're building static on that paper because that they had to put that chemical on it to begin with. It's just like running shirts in a dryer. If you don't put fabric softener, you are building static up. So on a direct to film, you're building static as it's rolling through. The wheel's there and didn't get zapped. There are ways to prevent that, but if you watch close, or if you look at like a lot of them that use a good example, the can't think of the name brand right now, but it's the one that so many people use on the direct to garment machines, and that they're using to do direct to film. Watch a video really close where they're like, hey, the print head's got to be cleaned every 2 to 3 times. If you look at that print head and you watch it print, and you have a camera in there, like a high-speed camera or a very good slow-mo camera where you can capture all of that stuff, you will see static built up from that shirt coming across there in the ink, and then some of the ink just splattering coming up. That's why them print heads have got to be cleaned that much more compared to some of the other printing methods of using it. So using a directed garment to do direct to film, it's possible, but that head's got to be cleaned a lot more because of it. But like I was saying, is there's different steps you're going to use. Like I said, it's got a pre and post heater, so it eliminates some of the problems I might have. Everyone's got different methods of what they're doing. Find what works best for you. Find what makes money. But in calculating that cost, that's a lot more electric I got to use because it's got them heaters on it. My R1800 little printer doesn't have heaters on it. So it's just using general power to print that, which is nowhere near as much as the power to print the other one. Always factor that in, because at the end of the day, bills have got to be paid. Yeah, you can sell you can sell a shirt for $5, but if you don't have a wholesale license, and let's say you paid $4 for that shirt, you only got $1 profit. And if it took you an hour to run that, you're in the hole. You're making $1 an hour, not including ink and all that. So always, like I said, sit down and make a little spreadsheet of what you want to make, what you're acceptable with or happy with, and what you won't work for. So let's say you don't want to work for $4 an hour. Factor that in on all your time on an item so you'll know right away, I'm not going to print that, or I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to make that amount of money. Because that's what it boils down to also. Like some things, like let's say if you had to weed all that out and you're in that range, yeah, you're making money, but if you didn't want to make $4 an hour, then don't do that contract for that price. Or look at it and say, okay, hey, I'm only going to do so many of that, because some people, if you're doing it as a side job, that's time that you're not doing nothing. But at the end of the day, you could be doing something else with that time. So factor in what you do want for that time. And like I said, that will make it a little bit easier on understanding how to price things. Because like I said, my price, me using the auto to screen print compared to Juan or Rye using the manual, I'm going to run a lot more. So my shirts per hour that I can do is a lot higher, so that my cost per shirt is a lot cheaper. Now I've got to factor in the electric on all that, but we're both using flash units and all that. We're both using a dryer. So I've got a little bit more electric for my machine if I'm using the air compressor part, or mine's got servo drivers on it. So, but you always got to factor that in. But here's a huge advantage. If I'm knocking out 600 shirts an hour, or let's say 500, and he's only knocking out 50, I'm 10 times more efficient than he is per shirt. So I can price mine lower and still be in the same ballpark, for me to make the same amount of money. And that's where a lot of times people will get outpriced, is you can't compete with something like an auto, but a lot of people don't need them numbers. And then, like I said, the auto, you got to add some other costs in. There's maintenance and all that too. And then if you bought a brand new machine, you're looking at $30,000 or up for a bill that you got to pay the mortgage on. So always factor everything in. How much your equipment costs, how often you got to repair it, how often do you need blades if you're using cutters. It will all add up. And like I said, some people don't look at it that way. And that's why I tell people too, look online, see if anyone's got any used equipment. If you're just getting started and wanting to learn, look there first. Move your way up. And then eventually, like I said, once you get to a certain level, yeah, you can go out and buy a brand new 14 head press. You can buy a 8-head embroidery machine. But get what you can get starting out, move your way up. I hope that helped, guys. Hope that was informative for you guys. I hope there's still people on here. I see the numbers and it's jumping all weird. So I hope that helped, guys. Is there any questions that anyone has, or anything anyone would like to know about? Let me know. If not, I will be getting off of here in the next few minutes because I've got to go work on some other stuff. And I've got to make a lot more videos for you guys. Because normally the videos are only filmed 1 to 2 days a week that I film. So I try to film a lot of stuff in 1 to 2 days. And then yeah, I'm here listening. Big help. Yeah. Well, like I said, Mira, like I said, it's just a thing, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone. It's just one of them things. When people do get in the business, they're always like, I'm going to make this much. And, or this used to always get me. And I call it like the grandma syndrome, because when I first started in the embroidery, I'd be like, hey, I can do it for this much. I calculated the cost of my machine, the thread, everything out. And then literally that customer would call me back and they're like, yeah, I found a lady on Craigslist that it's doing it. And I sent some orders to that person. I went over there. It was and it was an older lady. That's why I call it the grandma syndrome. Hey, Lily, I'm glad you're at least listening, Lily. But so what happened, it was like the grandma sitting at home, nothing else to do. She had an embroidery machine that she got that would do flat objects or whatever. And so to her, that $2 that she made off that hat, she was content with. That wouldn't pay a fraction of my cost. But that lady would do it for, let's say, $2. And so I call that the grandma syndrome, because could you really live off of that? Is that even profitable? No.
That old lady did it because she wanted something to do, and to her it was fine just to make that $2 off of it. Most people, you'd be losing money. But so you always have to look at it that way too, though. And like I said, and sometimes you're going to lose money to get a customer. Sometimes you're not going to make profit on anything. Perfect example, you have Black Friday every Thanksgiving. Best Buy loses money on the TVs that they sell, like a 92-inch TV for $100. They are losing money on that. They are making the money up, and that's why it's called Black Friday. They were in the red, and now they're finally in the black. The reason they are is because they're making up on everything else you're buying in there. They're only going to have, let's say, 20 TVs at that store. So, yeah, they took a hit on them 20 TVs, but now you're in there buying something else. So now you're in there buying a refrigerator or something. Is it on sale? Yeah, but they still make money off of it. So you can take a hit on some things if you're making money on other things. It happens all the time. I mean, a good example, you give someone a to-go cup. That cup costs you money, but pop, you're making an insane profit margin on it. No one's going to drink that much $2 to $3 worth of pop while they're in the store, even if you give them a to-go cup. Now, if you didn't have good pricing on your cups, you're losing money when you give them that to-go cup. But not everyone asks for a to-go cup. So if you look at it that way, you're coming out ahead. Coffee is the same thing. Yeah, it's free refills. Coffee's dirt cheap to make or have in your restaurant. So there's always some things that you get people in. Now, you're not going to get rich off the coffee, but you're getting them in there, and then they're going to buy eggs and bacon or something else with it. And that's the thing, is you always look on the upsells and you look at the other things. Like I said, the Black Friday, the doorbuster deals, it gets the people in the door. And when you get the people in the door, that's how you get the other sales. You're going to take a loss on one thing to get the sale on the other. The downside on the grandma syndrome is that grandma's not looking to embroider anything else. She's just doing it for fun. She doesn't mind doing that. She has fun. It gets her something to do, gets her out, gets her maybe to go meet people at the Walmart to drop that item off. Or let's say at the farmer's market, they gave her a free booth because she's a senior. So it gets her out there, gets her in the public, makes her feel better. That's fine. And if that's the way you want to run that, that's fine. Just remember, you're not really profiting that much on some things. So always look at it. Like if you're doing it for a business or want to make it into a business, start out looking at it that way. Sometimes, like I said, the numbers don't always fall in your favor. And if it doesn't, maybe just say, hey, I can't do it for that. If you want to do it just to get the experience, like let's say someone comes up and says, I want a 6-color press or six color shirt. Let's say you've never printed one, but you're wanting to learn how to do that. That might be a good time to take that job on. It's a learning thing. If you might talk to them, say, hey, I can do it for this much. I need this much time, because you're going to learn. Rude, I feel like I'm that grandma. No, Lily, like you charge price for your things. Mira says I have the grandma's syndrome too. But it is. What really got me on that is like when I started the embroidery. I was like, I was my Brazilian friend that does my digitizing. I would have him quote me prices, and down there it's a lot cheaper. And I'd be like, hey, what do you charge? And I would even use his pricing, which like left very little meat on the bone here for me. And I was still getting outpriced by the grandma thing. And I was just like, there is no money and broke. Yeah. No wonder I'm poor and broke. Well, and see, Lily, that's the thing, though, because a lot of people will do that. And then when they add up all the price at the end, they lost money. So, thread's a cheap thing, but you still got to count the thread, because thread's going to cost you money. At the end of the day, they don't send thread out for free. And so, like, when people do that, and here's a perfect example. People ask for samples from me. It's one of the things I always tell people, hey, buy something or whatever, and I'll try to send something with it, because if I gave even like the air freshener blanks, if I sent everyone an air freshener blank, I would be broke. My phone dropped a signal, missed a bunch. Yeah, I covered a bunch, Pam. And definitely, if you get chance, Pam, after the thing, go back and watch it where it kind of picked up, because it's a lot of it talking about the machines and why I think it would be a good idea for you to do that, Pam. But like, and what I was saying on the shipping, like if I sent everyone a sample, I probably get 100 requests a month for someone to send them a sample of the air freshener blinks. They're $1 something. So just pay the $1 or something. It's not that I'm greedy, but here's the thing. If I sent 100 out, that's $100 right there in samples that I sent out that I'm not making money off of. The other, and now here's the thing though, you do look at it this way. If I knew I would get customers with it, yeah, it's worth it. But you also have to factor in now I've got cost of shipping, UPS, postal service. So if I sent 100 samples out, now I'm looking at $5 of shipping. So now I'm at $6 to ship the item to the person and the sample cost, and not including the bags because bags aren't free. So I got to buy the bags also if I do my own poly mailer or if I use the free ones from the post office, which if you use that, the cheapest bag is $8 shipping. So I can't use a free bag. So now I'm out, let's say $6.25. I sent 100, so now that's $625. Now the plus side is if, let's say, 2 of them people come back and place an order, yeah, we make money. But at the end of the day, you can't send, like it'd be like someone saying, hey, can I get a free sample of the Epson printers? Epson's not going to send you the printer out. And so that's why when people always ask, like what I'll do is if someone orders something and they ask, hey, you got a sample of that, whatever, that stuff, then it's a little bit easier to throw in the box because you already paid for the shipping, you already paid. So then I'm out only the cost of the good, not the whole total package of shipping and everything else. So that's the other thing to look at. And like I said, when a customer orders from me, I do stuff like I give gummies and all that. That's money that I'm not getting back, but it makes the customer feel happy. And then in exchange, they usually come back. That's retaining customers. That's a different story there compared to if I throw something in also, that's retaining customers. But when you get random customers that just never ordered also and want like a free sample of everything, you're not necessarily going to, sometimes they're not customers that's going to make money. A good example, I have people that call all the time. I have someone that bought like one mask from me ever since I've started this whole business. They've called and asked tumbler price. They ask pricing every time. And then literally they called and asked how they press these other masks. They sent me a photo of it and all that. And what it was is they stopped buying and they only bought the one mask. But they bought masks from me and the other customer was 1 cent cheaper. The difference is my mask laid flat. These other customers didn't. Well, then that person called and said, hey, how do I get them to lay flat and press them? I can't get them to press. They're not printing good. Do you got any suggestions? And I was like, well, that's not my mask. I don't make them. But I showed him, I said, well, here's what you could do. I kind of helped him out, but that person never buys anything from me. So when that person did the mask, there was no money. They called and asked about tumblers. Then they called and asked, hey, where do you get all your supplies from? I don't mind sharing some things. Some of the stuff I don't share just because it's my business. But that person wouldn't have bought anything else. They never do. They always call and complain. So when they're doing that, it doesn't help for me to help that because I'm not making money off of them. If it was another person where they are buying things, yeah, it's I don't mind helping the other people because in the end, it always helps out. But there are some people that you're not making money on at all. They're this, like, in a perfect example, I look at it this way, where I make the YouTube stuff. I have people that only watch for the giveaways. They never see them in any of my comments. I never see them on my lives. Never see them on anything until I announce a giveaway. Then they post 100 times entries. They'll use fake emails to enter. Everything else. Them are the people that you're not really, it's not growing your channel and it's not making you money per se because they're only there for the free thing. They're not there to watch it grow, help you grow. The same thing with business. There are the people that are out there that want to help you grow, and there's the other ones that just want whatever you're going to give out. If you're at a city picnic doing hats, maybe help your company by giving hats out or something, or stickers. They're only there for that. So, like I said, look at it that way too. And like the grandma syndrome, not picking on you, Lily or Myrna, but it falls into that category. Don't underprice your quality. What, you have giveaways? I thought it was only Juan that gave things away. Mira, no, actually, ask Pam that giveaway that. Yeah, Pam's here for the free knowledge. Yeah, like here's like when Juan did that when he hit what was his number, Pam? When Juan hit the I think 5,000 subscribers, maybe it was. Yeah, it was 5,000 because him and Rye was going to 5,000. Um, tongue tied. Hang on. Rye gave the machine away, the embroidery machine away, or not embroidery. He is supposed to give Rye gave the screen press away. Juan gave the dryer away, and I actually gave the heat press away. I sent the money to Juan though, and so Juan gave the heat press. So Pam won all that stuff. But so I sent on that giveaway. I gave the press away, and then I also made the light fixture and gave to Pam also. I've also done giveaways for direct to film prints. I've done giveaways for tumblers. I've done loads of ink giveaways back in the day. And I do have a big giveaway when we hit I got a stupid gnat flying around here. I got another giveaway when I hit the 2,000 subscribers. So yeah, I do give things away. Man, this stupid gnat. It's like Rye flying around me. Wee. No. Hope you're listening, Rye. Hope you feel better too, Rye. But yeah, Mira, I give a lot of things. I help people outside of here too. Like I don't always advertise when I give the things away. Sometimes I might put it out that I'm going to give something away, but I have found out too, like when I did a giveaway, here's one of the big kickers. I did a giveaway for my store, and literally I had a lot of requirements, and it was credit for my store. I had a person that won. I was present when PA. Yeah, and like, so, but what I was saying, I did. See, I got. I'm OCD on something. My mind gets sidetracked when I just read something. But anyways, I was giving store cut away. It was like $50 or $100 card and all that. It had to be used in my store. I had a person, and on my thing when they email me, because I had to email me their information, I was using software, IP trackers and all that stuff, so I could see the account address. They sent 3 different things, entries from the same computer, different names, but yeah, look, there's a squirrel. Woo! But yeah, they sent 3 different entries from the same computer. And then the one person that won never knew anything about my channel. I said it's store credit. They messaged her like, "Hey, we want the Walmart gift card." I said, "There's no gift card. It's for my store." "Well, what's the store? What do you even sell?" It was one of them people like that, and they were a scam artist. That's all they did. And then I said, "Hey, when they won, they didn't send it back from the right email." And then I was like, "Hey, you commented back." That's funny, Lily. I was like, "You commented back from a different email than the one you sent." And I said it was 1 entry per person. So I don't mind doing giveaways. I just hate it sometimes that there are a lot of just scammers out there. It's all they want is the free thing. And like I said, now that person like sent them the thing, but that person, like, they knew nothing about my page. They knew nothing what I did, because what it was in the title, I was like, enter to win free giveaway or whatever. And so people will follow videos just for a free giveaway. Another good friend of mine, he does videos on like swap meets, selling online and all that stuff. He's going to come on the live one of these days. We've been trying to set it up. But he does that stuff a lot. Well, he does giveaways once a month. He does gift cards away. Now, I've won on his thing. He's a great guy. But like that's like he was talking about too. You do run into the issue that it happens more than people would like to admit when they like about things. Is a lot of us, it's one day at a time reseller. That's his web. I had to check his page. But it's one day at a time reseller. And that's what happens though is we do giveaways, and sometimes it's people that just join just for the giveaways. There are people that follow the channels, not really religiously, I hate saying it that way, but there are people that follow all the time. Them are the true followers. Like everyone that's on here now are the same ones that always follow. I'm very grateful for them. Them are the ones that a lot of times I wish win. They don't always win though. but you also have the ones that just follow for giveaways. And that's the thing I hate about. I don't mind giving things away, but if it doesn't help my channel grow or help that way, because what I normally do is I use the proceeds that I get from the YouTube, the my affiliate from Amazon. All that money is the stuff I do the giveaway with. So like if more people buy Amazon stuff, that's more money for me to spend that way. If more people watch the videos, that's more money for me to give away that way. Pam keeps coming back every week and participating. She's a good student. Yeah. Yeah. And like literally like Pam will tell you, like there's people on here, like Pam, for instance, has my number. I will try to help you any way I can. If you have printing questions, anything about it, helping pricing, I don't mind doing that. That's what I like to do. The thing I don't like are the ones that only are on here for and I don't mind if someone's only here for the giveaway, but there are a lot of the people that are like that. And like giveaway bandits are sneaky rascals. Yeah. And like I said, it happens. I mean, there's always the trolls. There's everything about that. But and that's it. Like, and the whole thing about that is the same thing I was saying. Just it falls into the whole that grandma syndrome that I always say is there are them people. I can't pronounce visual sensations. There we go. Got it right. I'm on a roll today on names. Nice to hear from you, visual sensations. But there are the ones like the grandma syndrome. They are outpricing themselves and they're not really making money. But now I look at it this way. And I've said this before. My mother has Alzheimer's. She's at the point where she a lot of times doesn't know who a lot of people are. If her embroidery would make her help her memory that little bit, I could care less if it cost me money to help keep her memory for her to go out and do that stuff. It's fine to take a loss on some things. And that's what a lot of these what I call the grandma ones, because they're fine to not make a profit on them when they're doing that baseball cap for $1 or they're selling with the cap, they're selling it $2 or $2.50 and they spent $2.39 on the hat, and now they're not factoring their embroidery thread or their time or anything in it. If it makes them feel better doing that, that's fine. But if you look at it from a business point, which that's what a lot of people are on here to do, they're wanting to make money in the business. They're wanting to maybe have extra money to do other things, to go on vacation, to buy a pair of sneakers, to buy a purse. If you're in it to make money, then you have to look at the cost, and you can't do the grandma pricing. And it's perfectly fine. Like if you want to just get your foot in the door and you're just like, hey, I want to test it. I had this machine sitting here. That's perfectly fine. But if you're looking at it as a true business, you have to look at it that way and say, this is the way it's got to be ran. This is the way I've got to do it. You've got to step back and look and say, okay, I can't price this low. Because here's the thing too. All your friends will take free shirts. Everyone will say it's the most awesome thing when you're giving it free to them. Or you get the homeboy discount or homie discount. Anyone that gets that, we like, for instance, I always say this: never use them people to ask if a product's good or your shirt's good or your design's good, because they're always going to say yeah, because they want free stuff or hookups. Take it to someone that knows nothing about you, then see what they say. Them are the people that you're going to get the honest review on. Did the print look good? They're going to tell you the truth. Would you pay this much? They're going to tell you the truth. And yeah, you do have some honest friends that are going to be straight honest with you and say, hey, I think it should be sold for this much. I wouldn't pay that much. You do have some honest friends. But usually your friends are not going to tell you the negatives. They're only going to tell you the positives. And so that's what you have to look at. To give away backpacks for school, backpacks and supplies. Hey, Robert, sorry about it's okay, Mira. It's life. I mean, it is what it is. Could be worse. There's always, and the way I look at things, there's always someone worse out there. I look at it like I've had bad luck in a lot of things, and I find out if I look hard enough, there's always someone that's going through worse than me. So I never kind of look at it as, oh, poor me. There's always someone worse. And that's like, for instance, Pam said to give away backpacks for school and supplies, stuff like that. That like there are good things like that. To do that, it's worth taking a loss for. You got to remember too, when you do like this, like we have a thing called Stuff the Bus. And what they do, they have a bus there, and you literally try to stuff it with school supplies for kids doing back to school. The radio and all that sponsors it. That is something like we used to do. We haven't done it in a while with them, but we used to sponsor that thing. We were losing money on that thing. We'd print the shirts for them for free. We'd be there helping out. But when people see you there and they see your company in the community helping out, everyone that delivers, they're going to see that logo on the back of the shirt. Or if you give them that free shirt for helping out, being a sponsor, they're going to look at that shirt and be like, hey, printed by so-and-so, this TV channel. They look at all them sponsors. And people understand that, and they look. So like next time they're looking for a printer, they're going to be like, hey, there was a printer on the back of that shirt I got. Or there was a coffee shop on the back of that. Maybe I should try that coffee shop. They were nice enough to sponsor that. Maybe they're a good coffee company. There are some things worth doing. And then, like I said, the other thing too, it's a tax write-off on donations. But at the end of the year, they don't give you money back if you took a loss. So you can only write off so much. So remember it that way too. Poor me, yes, poor me, I'm poor. Hey, Lily, look at the bright side, because you said you were driving home. You have a vehicle. I know people, we've seen people that don't have a vehicle, they're walking. I always look at the bright side. You have a vehicle and you've got a charger now, so that now you can start embroidering with your machine, Lily. So maybe you can hustle up some money doing that. Always look at the bright side, Lily. There's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or there's a leprechaun that you can steal for 3 wishes or whatever it is. But I'll always find the positive in things. And like I said, in some things, like I said, it's different. Like we'll do giveaways on other stuff. There's some things that are worth giving away. Other things, like I said, if it's just to, like, for instance, the giveaways, like I give out more than the YouTube channel would bring in. So on that, I'm not making money on my taxes. On that, it's taking a hit, but we're making money on other things. The other plus side too, when I do the giveaways too, it does help the Bananas and Pickle site that's at the bottom. I'll pass out in the Texas heat. For me, I'm too fat to walk. I'll pass out in the Texas heat. Lily, I wear a 3X and you wear a large. Come on. Yeah, and like I said, and that's the thing too, like I always tell people, that's why I do push my brands on here. I don't do the videos for that, but I created the sites for the other stuff like that. And like I said, that's what does the giveaways. Like I said, we will have that cutter giving away. I'm going to do like a 24-inch I don't have the place in front of me right now, but US cutter. I'm going to do probably like a US cutter giveaway when we hit the number. I was debating on what to do on the printers and all that stuff. We're going to do that. But I'm going to give a cutter away. And then on that, there were a bunch of things too. We had the, which I don't know if I'm going to still do that, but we did have, in my earlier videos, we put a letter in every video and it made a sentence. And originally that was part of it. Women's blouses don't fit. That's men's size, LOL, but women's it's 1X or 2S sometimes. Women blouses don't fit. But yeah, like part of the giveaway too, that you didn't really have to watch them all. You could just find them spots and figure out what the sentence was. I'm undecided if I'm going to do that still, that part of the giveaway. I might do that as a bonus because there were people that watched that. There were people that you could go back and watch all them. It did make a sentence. That might be a bonus thing for one of the other things. It will probably be something where you got to be on the live, which, for instance, today, if that was a giveaway, there's only 6. So if only I could tell my story, walk in faith. And is there something to the dog at the beginning of the video? No, Martin, that's my dog, and that's what she does. Like, she's weird. Um, Normally Denise is on here. Denise has got an English bulldog also. They're weird on a lot of things. Like when they want to scratch or whatever, they can't always reach. Um, so I don't know. Like, it's hard to put her in a lot of other photos because she does a few tricks, not much, but like she's very hyper. My dog she's small, but that dog that you see, she's the same size in that video. She's more fatter now. But she's probably 60 pounds and she's got raptor claws. But it's just something like, so I can't have her sit in my lap all the time. She'd crush me or scar me to death with her claws. But it was just something my dog does. And I don't have a true intro, never really made one. So it was something that I figured throw that at the beginning of the video. Because it was funny. Every time she does start to do that, every time I take out my camera, she sees me, she stops. That just happened to be, I was walking up the porch that day when she was doing it. Because it's funny, she will usually, I get off work around 4:30, so I get home around 5:30. She will usually be sitting right at the door. And I can see her sitting there, or she's sitting right next to the chair, looking at the door right around that time. She knows what time I get in there roughly, and so she'll sit there looking for me. And literally, I've got to give her treats. She knows she gets a treat when I get home. She knows we'll play with her toys. It's like a little kid waiting for you. I just got confirmation on delivery on my printer 9/9/21. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So that's September one. Is that correct one? I think that was 9. What's your to-go-to printing on dark fabrics? Screen printing? Depending on, here's the thing. Depending on, September 9th. I'm new to sublimation. What I would do, LL, Lily, your printer, come on, little guy's birthday. What I would do is I would probably, on a dark fabric, I'm going to screen print. Depending on how many colors and depending on how many you need. If you're only needing one shirt, screen printing is not necessarily the method, I might say. But here's what I would do. I'll give you a quick rundown of the options I would go through. For one, I'm going to look at how many shirts they want. So let's say you need 10 shirts. My son's is the 10th. Him and my daughter was born the same day. That's pretty cool. But what I would do, visual sensations, I would look at how many shirts I need and look at the processes and see what's most cost effective for me. That being said, I would look at cut vinyl. I would look at transfers. Now, here's the thing too. I would also look at if they're going to be a repeat customer, if you think you're going to use that image, if it's something you could use for something else. Because you can get the 10-cent transfers from was it 613 or F&M Expressions. There's that setup fee. It's like $20 for the artwork setup. So you got to factor that $20 in on that cost, and then you got shipping. But normally what on that, so like, and it's 10 cents. So like you got $20. So if you only bought one, now you paid $20.10 for one transfer. Pretty expensive transfer. So if you know they're going to buy more than one, a lot of times if I do go with the transfer method, I'm going to do 100 of them. If I'm doing the heat press transfers, the plastisol ink transfers that you buy from one of them places, I'm not going to print them myself. I have the ability to print them. I've done a video on it in Juan's live Tuesday. Juan, his video's not up anymore because he asked about that. I didn't see it anymore, Juan. Juan used to have a video on it. I still got my video up on how to do transfers. I've got a vacuum fixture. I have the stuff to do it. It's literally not that cost effective for me because that paper that I print that transfer on costs me, depending, because I don't buy it in that big a bulk, it's like 5 cents a sheet, I think it is, 3 to 5 cents. And it varies. You can get it a little bit cheaper, but if I got that much in it, that leaves 7 cents for ink. That leaves the electricity because I'm using a vacuum fixture, and it leaves the dryer. I got to run the dryer and the powder for all the other stuff. There is money in it. F&M and all them make money. They are also getting a setup fee. But here's the other thing too. If I'm doing my screen, roughly you've got $3 to $5 in chemicals on a screen. And screens are reusable. So that's why I'm not figuring a new screen. I'm figuring out reusing the screen. So from start to finish, so when you clean a screen, put emulsion on it, burn the image, reclaim it, put emulsion on it for the next job, from start to finish of that screen so you can reuse it again, it's between $3 to $5 depending on if you buy emulsion in the gallon or the quart. And if you buy it even bigger quantities, if you're doing that big in numbers. But so factor that in. And so that's why I will not do make my own plastisol transfers. It's not cost effective for me. I can order from F&M or 613 transfers and literally get them shipped out. They don't let gang sheets, so you can't do the gang sheets and put multiple images on it. But it's like a 10-cent transfer, I think it is. Is it still 10 cents one, or did it 15? Wow, you did a plastisol video. I'm gonna look it up. Thanks for the info. And like, here's the thing: if you're just starting out, like you said, it's not bad to do that if you want the practice and the knowledge and learn how. If you're running a full production shop, it's not cost effective for me to do that for the price that I have to pay an employee to run that. If I'm doing it myself, I've got to factor that in. A screen is really cost effective. Nice. Yeah. And the other method too, like cut vinyl, you got to remember too, you can buy one sheet. It's going to be, I pulled it up there, I think it's $8 they charge for a little 12 by 12, whatever. You can buy it, and then buying it by the roll is cheaper. But you also have to factor in, if you don't use that roll, that's money sitting there that you didn't make back. So let's say you spent $60 and you buy 30 yards of it. Now you've got 30 yards sitting there, and let's say you only sold one transfer that you cut out from the HTV vinyl. So now you're in the hole because you didn't charge $60 for that shirt. The long run, you're going to make money off that vinyl, but until you sell the rest of that vinyl, you're in a negative. You're in the hole. So factor in the cost of all the items and all the goods. The other option too, if it's got to be a color image, screen printing one to two shirts is not cost effective on screen printing 1 to 2 of anything, unless it's just for you and you're just starting out wanting to learn. If you're doing it that way, it's perfectly fine to do it that way. If you're doing multiple colors, you might even go with the direct to film transfer. If, like you said, it's a dark shirt, so it leaves sublimation out of there, because even if you go with like that Subla, that silks stuff you press on there and it's a white sheet and you sublimate, the black will never match the black of the cotton shirt, so it will have a huge black image on it. You could use the kind of the transfer you can print through an inkjet. That's going to be a really rough feel. If you only needed one, yeah. If it's a funeral or whatever, memorial shirts, that's a big thing to use for. So you can get away with them, but also too, look at a lot of the direct to film printers right now. It's not me. I do have a link down below of these other direct film shops. There are some selling them for $3, a little 8.5 by 11. You've got shipping, but you could get a transfer. You buy a bunch of them for that price and get full color on the whole thing. You can also gang the image up, so you could do a left chest and fit like 10 to 20 of them on that print. So now you're in there for maybe 10 to 20 cents a print. Look at it that way. But screen printing is probably the most cost-effective way to do dark color shirts. Assuming that you're going to do more than one shirt. But yeah, screen printing would probably be the way to go. Remember too, let's say you're going, perfect example, this shirt right here. I know how he made it. He's got videos on it. There are 2 methods to do this shirt. You can do a white underbase under this whole thing and print white then the blue. I got to look and see what the blue's at because I can't see. And then the purple. So that would be 3 screens. So now on the cost, we're going to use the $5 number because it's quick for me to do the math. That's $15. If it was a $3 mark, that's $9. Now, the other method is to do it 2 screens. If you do that, depending on the ink color and depending on if you've got like a max opacity ink, max opacity inks can handle going on black, but you're not going to usually get it 1 coat. You're going to have to print, flash, print. On some of these, and the video he talks about it, he did 3 coats of color. So if you do that, factor that time in, because now it's under the dryer or the flash unit the 3 times instead of the 2 times. So that's 1 extra step. But now if you're doing white, the print, flash, print, that's still 3 passes because you're doing the white, you're flashing it. Now you're doing the blue. And you might not flash it after that. This doesn't touch, so you could get away with that, not flashing it again. But if you're doing it where the artwork was touching, you might flash it. So it might have 3 flashes on this also. But factor all that in. But a lot of times, like I said, you can buy a max opacity ink. But for instance, if you're doing it on like a white T-shirt, you're not going to flash it. You're just going to print it and throw it on the dryer, depending on what you're. Because white ink, there's no need to put multiple layers unless you're doing something like a CMYK print or something like that, where you might want to make sure the colors don't blend or you want to flash it then. But in general, you're going to have flashing on, especially if you do dark colors, you're going to have to flash it. So that's going to take a little bit longer time. But yeah, screen printing is going to be the way to go. Like I said, depending on how many colors you want to do and if you're going to underbase the artwork or not, that is all up to you. There's, I would say, different beliefs, different methods on that. Some people, like for instance, on an auto, yeah, I'm going to underbase everything, and then I'm going to have a top white. I'm also going to run a roller to get it super smooth. You can take and do like what he does right here. These are actually, they are heat cured under the flash unit, and then some of them ran through the dryer anyways. What he does also is takes them to the heat press, and it gives you the look that you see on here, and it mats everything down and pushes it into the shirt. It's a different texture. It's a different feel. But if you do that, that's an extra step. Always factor all them things in when you're doing the printing and pricing and all that. But yeah, if you're just doing a basic shirt, quickest way, screen printing is going to be the way to go. It's going to be the cheapest way in general. The only way that I would say would be cheaper is, and then it comes back to the factor of how many you're buying. Because if you buy the transfers and you only buy 10 of them, and you spent the $20, so now you're at $30. So now you're at $3 a transfer. So you'd be at $3 a transfer at 10 transfers. If you're getting them 10 cents a transfer because you got the $20 initial cost that they charge you to burn the image. The other side too that I didn't add into that, they have shipping fees. So even if you factor that in, let's say $10, because that's probably what it's going to be, an $8 to $10 flat rate shipping. Now you're looking at $4 a transfer. So that's $4 onto that shirt, even buying the cheaper transfer, if you're only doing 10. So on one shirt alone, that will pay for your screen setup if you're using the screen printing ink. So then after that, you might only have, and if you're looking at it for that one shirt or the 10 shirts, now you're going to take that $5 and divide that into the 10 shirts. So now you're at 50 cents a shirt compared to the $4 a shirt. Whatever you do, don't do super color. Yeah, and that's the other thing, visual. Super color is way overpriced. There are so many other methods that work better. I've done loads of videos on it. Goon Life's done videos on it. The people that tell you it's profitable, it's people where they're not factoring all the other things. They're not factoring the shipping. They're not factoring because or they're factoring in. They're like, well, I'm buying like, I watched the guy the other day and Goon Life watched it too because me and him talked about it. He sent videos. The other guy, he commented, he was like, there's money in them. He's like, I'm going to do a video on it, show you guys how I'm making money. He was like, I bought extra transfers. And so instead of buying the minimum of 20, he was like, I think he bought 50 or whatever. And he was like, I can press these cheaper than I can screen print it. Well, depending on what it was, I think he had 3 or 4 colors on that press. There's a few things. You're limited by size. So if you screen print your Epson 1400, Epson 1430, you can do 13 by 19 on a screen print. You cannot do that with Supercolor. You can gang up artwork on a shirt if you're screen printing. You cannot do that with Supercolor. So when he said that, here's the other kicker too. And I'm going to call him a liar, which I don't think he watched my thing, but it's veteran screen printing. So go watch it. He is a veteran, so I'm not knocking him there. But on his pricing, what he didn't calculate either, he did a front and a back. So he has a front print, a left chest, and he had a back print. He did not add up, and I guarantee you he didn't do these numbers correct. He didn't add up the front stencil and the back because you got to buy a minimum. So if you're doing, let's say, the 50, they got the minimum of 20. So if you bought the 20, then you're going to pay, it's like $7 a transfer. So that's 7 for, or it's actually 8. So it's 8 for every one. Well, then you got to buy the front at, let's say, $3. So now you're at $11 to print that shirt. If you can't screen print a shirt for $11, there's something wrong. You don't need to screen print. You need to go find another job. And so, especially if you're printing that many shirts, the price is coming down, so you should have way less than that shirt. He also said that he could do the presses quicker than the screen printing, and that's probably true. He's not that quick a screen printer, so his numbers are not going to be up there compared to what he might be able to press at. But you have to factor in that total cost for out the door of that shirt. So if you've got $11, not including the shirt, now you got the cost of the shirt, cost of your time, cost of your heat press, that you're keeping that heat press running. And that's going to be the kicker where you're going to lose that money. Juan, how many prints? Martin Jones, Juan. No, like, yeah, now Juan, like I said, Juan did way more prints. Juan's a screen printer. Juan can easily outpress a heat press. The other guy that did that video, he is a screen printer. He does have a shop. He is definitely not at the speed that a lot of other printers that print more often are. That being said, your time is money. That's all he kept saying on the video is time's money. I guarantee you, though, even if you factored him, let's say he was an hour slower, or let's say here, I'll say this, 2 hours slower. And let's say he's figuring his rate at $10 an hour. So that's $20 right there. Well, I can tell you this, after 3 shirts alone, that paid for his hourly rate because he's paying $11 for that shirt transfer that he's not making money on. So that's $11 just for the transfer. So if he worked 2 extra hours, that's that much more money he put in his pocket. And then he's like, well, time's money. Well, if your shop's open from 7 to 4 or 7 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, you're there. So you got to be there. So if you're sitting on your butt looking at the computer or you're pressing, you're still there and you're still on the clock. So if you only run 1 shirt that day, that goes into that 8-hour time. If you run 100 shirts that day, that goes into your time. That's time you're paying. So always got to factor that in. You steered me away from Cosmo ink and Supercolors. I bought Epson ink. Yeah, Epson ink, hands down. Juan, how many printers? Oh, Juan's got. So you did get all 4 printers, Juan? That's pretty cool. That's going to be a big help. And visual sensations, that's another thing. Keep an eye out. Like Juan, he's got it. I sent him some Hippo ink. He's got some other inks that he's going to test. He's going to show people the ink quality, Epson compared to the other. Because that's the thing, too. Like, I'm not bashing Cosmo, for instance. And there's a lot of these ink companies. I'm going to do an ink video soon. I don't have a problem with the people per se, the owners. I have a problem with what they do. Because, like, if you can buy the name brand stuff and the stuff that's pretty much been the inventors of this game for cheaper than you can buy a knockoff brand, why are you buying the knockoff brand? It doesn't make sense. I have to pay full price for them. That sucks, Juan. But that's my thing is like, so the ink companies and what they get you is they're putting theirs where it looks cheaper because they're like, hey, and here's a perfect. Let me find 2 sizes. I'll do something like this. All right, well, here you go. Hey, you can have this much ink, or you can have this much ink. Let me make sure the liters are the same before I say that. Okay, yeah, so this is almost double the amount of this, but they're selling this for like $2 cheaper than this per volume size. And then they're like, hey, it's cheaper. Well, no, because if I bought 2 of them, or if I bought 2 of these, now I'm paying this much more, almost $4 more than the bigger size. And that's what these ink companies are doing. They're selling you like Epson is like 110 milliliters, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Juan? 110? 110 or 140, maybe 130. Anyways, the other ones are selling you it's like 90. So when you, and it, well, actually it was less than that. It's so when you factor in the volume for what you're getting it for, Epson is cheaper. When you just take the total number of the ink cost, divide it by the milliliters, and you do it by every 140. Yeah, so if you take the volume of all the ink costs, divide them out, you will understand really quick and perfect. Juan nailed it right there for me, so I don't have to do the math. Epson's 140, the Cosmos and all that stuff is 70 milliliters. That is half the size. So when you take their cost, even though let's say they're $18 instead of the $23 for the ink, add up the milliliter cost. And it's simple. You take the total cost by the milliliters. That will give you the price per 1 milliliter. When you do that, Epson is cheaper. Now, could you maybe find a cheaper ink? Yeah. The other thing, too, is Epson does a lot of research and a lot of backing, a lot of studies on their stuff. These other guys are a joke. They don't have the labs, they don't have the technology, and they don't have the stuff. If they do, I would love to see it. And then the other people, too, that I've talked to, they're like, well, I deal with my vendor overseas. I know all the stuff. Yeah, you might, that vendor selling to 10 other people, 1,000 other people. You are just a number to them. They are not going to. And then here's the other question. Have you been to their shop? Have you been to the lab? Have you had them send batch checks with every little thing, check and do like spectrum analysis on it? Do parts per million, because they can do all that stuff and tell you how many parts per millions of each color and pigments. And they can do a spectrum analysis and see if the color ranges and all that. They can check all this stuff. But are they doing that? And are you getting the invoice copies of every batch? No, no one's doing that. So that's why I steer people away from buying these generic inks and all that stuff, because you're not really saving. You're paying more. It's kind of like snake oil. It's a good bait and switch. Like, hey, I'm going to give you this, but I'm going to give you, like, and then you end up with this much. And that's kind of what they're doing with it. After you do the ink video, you should do a paper video using the winning ink. Yeah, they did honor the last price, so the total came to $865.96. Epson aware. Epson aware of the sub-market. What do you think their opinion is? I saw that they discontinued certain popular models. Where do you buy Epson ink from? There are, help me out, Juan. I can't think of them names right now. Any other time I could have spitted them right off the top of my head, Pam. The model is Epson ink. It's T49M. Okay, All American. Here you go. And I'm just throwing these out here. I just Googled it. IT Supply. That's the one. That's the one I normally get my ink from. Pam, is IT Supply. You can get it from IT Supply. All American Printing. Right now they got it for $17.99. It's showing on here. There's the IT supply, and then there's a bunch of regional, and then this is regional supplies just pulled up, ID pulled up. There are a bunch of the other ones that have it. The big thing is it's just finding a provider. Like B&H even carries it if you buy from them. Image Spectrum is another one, which are all about the same price, $17.99. LexJet, like Image Spectrum, for instance, will not. An IT supply does not require you to have an account either. So if you don't have an account, if you're the Frankie mode style person, you can buy from them directly without having to worry. IT supply is the one I always get it from, though. They don't give me no benefits. They don't give me no discount. And when you tell them you're using it for the non-one, they're not 100% happy about it. Is like the Epson, the visual sensation, the question about is Epson aware of it? What it is Epson, the reason they discontinued a lot of their models is not because they're really worried about people copying or using them for sublimation. Because with that, what they end up doing is if you send a printer in under a warranty issue, they pull that printer apart to see what's wrong because they got to check it. It's a quality thing. And so if, let's say you send it in, it's a print head jam or clog, they're going to, first thing do, they're going to pull that print head and see what's going on with it. So for one, if you don't have the ink cartridges, where let's say you're using a continuous ink system, the other ones at the CISS, and you actually sent it in with that instead of sending the normal cartridges, they're going to flag right away and say, hey, this is not the right ink. Cartridges, we're not going to warranty it. The next thing they're going to do is if you send it in with, let's say it's one of these, the 15,000, the one that I've converted. Let's say you send that model in. They're going to pull that also. But what they're going to do is they're going to pull that ink then. And they're going to see, because sublimation ink is not the same as the ink that they're using. It's not solvent ink, but the ink that was in that printer. So they're going to pull that ink and they're going to be like, this is not the right ink. They're going to avoid the warranty. So Epson is not worried about people using them for that because they're not out of their pocket. What it is Epson, how they make money is coming up with new models. So what they do is like the one that everyone was converting back in the day. Like when I did a video last week, and I think it was a 20-minute video about and then Martin Jones says, yeah, but if I purchase it without a business license, do I need to report on my taxes? LOL, just kidding. If Frankie doesn't report any of it on the taxes, remember that? It's only $300 a week, he said. So you don't got to report that. I am lying, guys. You got to report everything. I don't want the IRS showing up at my door in the next 10 minutes and hauling me off in cuffs. I won't make it in prison. Look at his face. But yeah, so Epson's not worried about, like I said, watch that video and I suggest which ones to go with, converting or not. But like the other models, what it is Epson makes money on selling printers. So if they kept the same model forever, you're not going to buy another printer. Or if they don't create something bigger, badder, better. So that is the big thing too. That's why like everything is always evolving. There's always like trade shows. There's always a new thing in the market every year. I was in paintball for a long time. Every year there's a new marker that came out. Every marker has the next year's model. It's just like cars. There's Ford Mustangs every year, and they modify something very little to get you to buy it. And then of every so many 5 or 10 years, they do a total remodel, and you have the whole new body designs. Same thing with screen printing. They're going to keep that model for a few years, and then they're going to redesign it and replace it with something else. The upside of that is usually when they replace it, especially in the printing business, it's going to have different print heads in it. The technology keeps advancing, so they're making more efficient print heads, better print heads. Epson's big step was this whole continuous ink system, the ET, the Eco Tank, which is a continuous ink system built into their system. They understood that people eventually were converting it anyways and wanted a continuous ink system, the Eco Tank. So they created it and put it in there. It's at the right level, right height. It's all built and balanced. And they figured out, yeah, they're losing the ink cartridge sales, but they're getting more people to buy the ink anyways, and they're still going to turn out and buy another printer later. And the other companies were going to that method too, so why not convert your line? So that's why Epson does that. Every company, like I said, every year they'll come out with something. Sometimes it's a few years, and like in printers, it's like up until, what was it, 2-3 years ago, the 1430 was still in production. The 1430, 1400s, and all that stuff, they were still in production. Now they stopped, and now there's another thing that takes its place. It will always happen that way, just because they're always creating new things. My laser printer, my Rico laser printer that I was doing the other transfers on, that is similar to the Super Color, that laser printer was discontinued last year, I think it was. Last year or the beginning of this year. They discontinued that model. There's a new one that replaces it, but they no longer make that model. That every so many years they just change it out. They can still get parts for it and all that, but they discontinue it. That's like the Zebra printers, like I was talking about earlier. They make new ones, so they discontinue the old ones, and they make the money by people buying the new ones, because some people always want the bigger, badder, best thing that's out there. They want to cut the competitor out by making their printers Ecotech. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, because like Ron was saying too on that, if you have an ecosystem where your CSI is already built in, now you're not buying a competitor's EcoTank. So all that you're buying now is ink. Well, what do most people are going to do? Especially on a normal printer. If you're printing at your house, and you're printing, let's say just normal paper, which this was printed with a laser printer. But let's say I was printing this for my house. I'm not going to go online and try to find specialty ink that's just when I need normal printer ink. I'm going to go down to Staples or Circuit City or Best Buy and buy my ink off the shelf. I'm going to buy the Epson one, pull it out, good to go. I'm ready to run. Go home, dump it in my printer all day long. And so when they do that, then they eliminated people from trying to convert it, trying to buy anything else, because that ink is going to be, they're already cheaper priced on the ink. So the only advantage of someone to buy the EcoTank was to buy it, because when they were in the cartridge, they're pretty pricey ink was. So that's why people were looking at ways to refill ink. Now that you do the EcoTank, yes, did Circuit City go out of business, Juan, after I said that? I think Circuit City is no longer in business. Now I'm going to have to Google that, but I think Circuit City went out of business. Is Circuit City still in business?
According to Startup Sapiens, Medium, under its new owner, Ronnie Schmoll, Circuit City planned to open kiosks, stores within other stores, and eventually its own showrooms. The brand is still alive, but it's far from being a behemoth it was 12 years ago.
Yeah, it said it made a comeback in 2018, but yeah, they're nowhere, Juan. When I said that, it's one of them things, my mind just running through the stores, and yeah, Circuit City's no. Office Max too. Office Max got pretty much bought out with Staples, or they joined. One of them two companies joined too, but yeah, I just go to the supply shop. My son used to work there. Yeah, so it's one of them things that's a lot of these print companies, that's why they're doing it though, is it's a money thing. You like, if you don't make new product, you can't live off of the small things. You got to have new things out every year. And that's why on the printers, that's why they're Office Max / Office Depot. That's the one that I'm thinking of too. The bad thing, they all use the same color marketing. They're all red and white on their logos. So it's not like Best Buy, it's blue and yellow. Best Buy, if you want to send me something, holla. No, but Juan said I'm a little slow. But yeah, so like I said, that's the thing where he was asking about why Epson discontinues it. And then what they end up doing too is, like when Juan was trying to buy the one printers, if you guys remember, what they'll do is when they discontinue some of these models, Red is easy to see. Red is also an anger color on the studies. Certain color, but it incites food too. Look, Juan's got red in his logo. Like, see, it's evil. Ask Lily. Juan incites evil. But it's like a bull, which that's a myth too. Bulls don't charge that red. They're colorblind. But pointless information. But yeah, that's why they do the new printers. And then what they do too is when they, even if they've got like a warehouse full of that printers that they refurbished, then what they end up doing is like when Juan got that deal on the one, they sell it as refurbished. So now they're clearing their inventory out. And if they repurposed it or rebuilt it, now they're doubling their money because someone paid for it. It came back. So now they're getting more money. They're getting that out of the inventory off the books, and they're making a new product. So it's a win-win on that part. But yeah, that's why the printer companies. Oh yeah, and they got Shaq advertising for them now. And like the funny thing, like that's why they went Eco Tank. That's my perfect answer right there. Shaq's hands holding like an Eco Tank. Shaq's hands holding an ink cartridge. He couldn't even hold them small ink cartridges now. But he can hold the Eco. He can hold the old printer in his hand. But yeah, that's the Eco Tank was a huge push, and it's really smart they went that way. When I see a woman wearing red, I don't get angry at all. Really, Juan? Rye, send him a photo. I think Rye fell asleep on us. Lady in Red. I'm going to get sued for copyright infringement on that song. It also makes you eat more. That it does. That's my problem. McDonald's makes it red, and then Checkers does, and Arby's, and now I'm hungry. Rye, if you want to send me some fast food, I will gladly eat it. But yeah, that's the thing where they do get the whole thing. I mean, it's very good of them to do the print thing like that by going the Eco Tank. And like I said, they're pretty much covered on the warranty issue because anyone that does convert them, like for instance, I know I'm not going to send it back onto the warranty. If something does happen, I'll just go buy another one. Yeah, that ET15000 is whatever it was. I paid $600, whatever it is. Nobody delivers to the sticks. Yeah, I know, Juan. Ryan, you guys tried. That one time, Rye found an Asian place, and they're like, we don't even know where that's at. They're like, it's not even on the map. It's like BFE's not on there no more. Because you go to BFE and make a left here. But yeah, I'm nowhere around. So I can only have what I go get myself or fend for out here. But yeah, on the warranty though, like I said, if you have a printer and it does mess up, and then you do have the other option too. Like if mine does mess up, I do have an option of buying a print head. The thing too with a lot of the print heads, most of that is not cost effective for you to swap it out yourself. You can buy that print head. And now, for instance, my direct-to-film one, these right here, the i3200s, these print heads, these are for a large format and all that. They're a little over $1,000 a pop. And it's got two of them in that unit. So is it worth buying new print heads? Yeah, that machine was right around $15,000 shipped. But there's a point where some of the print heads, like on some of these smaller print heads, they're $300 and $400, and the printer's only $400 at best. So on some of them, you're better off just buying a whole new printer. My 1400, when it went out the last time, or the other time, the 1430, whatever it was, when that went out, literally it was cheaper for me to go buy another printer than it was the print head. And then, like I said, so if you're converting printers, you're already aware that they're not going to be covered under warranty. The other thing, too, is the time. A lot of them might only be a year warranty anyways, so you're past a year anyways. So the warranty thing isn't really that big. They do warranty this stuff. My large format was covered. They do check the ink. They do check everything else. Because if you're caught using anything else, they're not going to cover you. You are stuck. And so that's the thing I always tell people too. If you're spending over $1,000 on a printer, why chance it and use something that's going to void the warranty where it's not going to cover you? That's just my thought. I mean, especially if you know too, because sublimation ink is notorious for print head clogs. It's not like the same ink, so it can clog a print head. So if you know that can happen, why are you going to do it or chance it? That's kind of the way to look at it. I hope that helps and kind of helps you on the other stuff. And like I said, the screen print would be the way to go on the shirt. So did you get everything set up, Juan, on your Mero machine? Because I knew you got back. I knew you had everything. You were changing out, I think, the header, the gear. You're saying. It's dead silence. It's like, oh, I got it running. That's pretty cool. You gonna do some videos on it, Juan? But I'm not using it yet. There goes that answer. I do know how that feels though, because like I said, I didn't my run the other day wasn't as far as yours was, Juan. I only had to drive 86 miles one way, and I think it's 86 back. It was 86, but mine was an 86-mile drive, and it was very eventful and very nerve-wracking when I hauled that mill because they are very top-heavy, and I knew that, and I had it in the back of that 350, and it was pretty interesting. I got it there, got it back fine, but I don't have patch material already. As you got other stuff running on the laser one, because you're gonna laser them patches out, aren't you? The outside pattern, so you just run them through the Mero then. Martin Jones, he's like, what is that? It's a Mero machine, so it makes patch. It does that. I don't have a patch here. A Mero machine is what Juan's got. Martin, man, I wish I had. It is that thick, like that you have on patches. It's that thick. You can adjust it, but it's that thick pattern. And they run them on patches. They do run them on other things, but it's usually used for the patch. I don't have anything. I blame Juan for that. I just finished the last batch of acrylic. Okay, so now you're going to start lasering them out. Yeah, like what it is, Martin, too, they do make other brands, but it's Mero. Like Juan, I'll explain this because Juan explained it to me, and I researched it too. Mero was the person that invented it. That's kind of sewing machine. So there are other sewing machines besides the Mero brand that makes that style, but they had the patents and all that. They were the originator of it. But anything that does that style of sewing is considered a Mero. Like you're like, if you're looking for to do a patch, it's considered a Mero sewing machine style. And that does the kind of like on the name badges that everyone has. That's used for the Mero patch. And they're very small, very compact sewing machines. And they can be very pricey. Like you can see the guy's hand in the one photo. Juan just sent me a photo literally as I was perfect. Thanks, Juan. This is a Mero. It's going to rotate. Let me do it this way. That is a patch. So what Juan's doing, and I'll explain because I'm sure he's fine with it. You can see the size of the quarter, so you can see that stitch around the outside. That is the Merrill stitch. What he did is he takes material that can be sublimated, puts it in the middle, and you sublimate it, and then you run the patch around the outside, so you can make some pretty awesome patches really quick. Because if you tried using an embroidery machine to do that, it's going to take a while. That's a lot of stitching, a lot of time on that to run that stitch, and it's not going to even. You can embroider it, but it's going to take a while, and it's still not going to be as raised, where it's got that little depth to it. Get me out of the photo so we'll focus. So it's not going to be as raised. And you can adjust the width on them so you can make it fatter, a little bit skinnier. But that's what they're used for. The speed is insane when you watch the videos on them. And an embroidery machine couldn't even come close to that. I got another photo. Says I do. Okay, yeah, it's the same photo. But yeah, and you can see, like I said, that it's insane when you watch these things run. How they look. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool stuff. And like I said, I got looking for one of them because I put the coin there because the logo is not registered yet. Oh, okay. I thought you were doing it to show the size, how small you sublimated on it, Juan. But yeah, that's the thing, because and you can do them patches and sell blanks. When you see blank sublimated patches, that's what they're doing. They're doing that patch without sewing the Merrill stitch around the outside. Mara, don't thank him. I'm still waiting for my packages. He doesn't get a thank you till I get my packages. But you can do it the other way, Martin. So you could and I'm sure Juan will probably sell them on a store. He can do that Merrill and sell blanks. But the downside about doing that, when you try to, I'll spill that cup. The downside when you do that, when it's got that lip and you try to put something in here, you're never going to get that sublimate all the way deep into that corner. Especially if you do a thick Merrill stitch around it. So the way that Juan did that is the perfect way, because the ink is all the way to that edge. If you've seen, I'll show it one more time. There is no bleed whatsoever, or white mark. Focus on that instead of me. There is no mark whatsoever where it didn't get to the edge, because he printed all the way to the edge. So if you did it the other way, so what he did is he took the material, sublimated it, and then ran the stitch around it. If you took it with the stitch around it and sublimated it, you can do that, and you could leave the white boundary around it. But if you didn't leave a white boundary around the outside, you're going to get some near the edge that just doesn't show up as well. So that's the other kind of negative if you buy just the patch blanks. There are ways to get it where they come out fairly nice. I've seen that, and I've bought some of the patches and done that. If you try to do the all over print on that, though, you're better off if you have the sewing machine and do it like Juan did. That is the best way to do that. And then machines fly. Literally, I'll say this: he could sew that out before it probably did one leg on the embroidery machine. It goes that quick. So it's definitely a cool sewing machine. And it's purpose driven. It's got one job and one job only. And you can use that trim on other things besides patches. They use it on some other sewing things when I was doing the research. But Merrill makes machines to do certain things. On the inside, I got no clothes sitting here that I could show you. Where you always I got a mask. I can kind of show you maybe here. That stitch pattern, they make machines that do other things, but that's the thing. It's usually I have it on a polyester jerseys. On your long seam, it's that big loop that sticks out. On the back, on the inside seam, it's done with it. Where it comes out, that's like the Merrill ones. I don't have patches sitting here, but that is the same process. I like the embroidered better, but customers want Merrill. Want the Merrill look better. Yeah, and like Juan was saying, so the big thing too, you got to do what customers want. And a perfect example, and this is why I was saying the customers like the other one, like to do that Texas one. If you've seen that little, I don't want to show it too much because I know they don't have it finished. That black line around the outside of the state of Texas. To sew that out to have the embroidery without putting white in between there would be pretty tricky. So, and that's a spot color print. Well, if you try to do something like my Bananas and Pickle logo, you can check it out at bananasandpickles.com. But if you try to do the banana and pickle logo, the gradient that's in this thing, there's no way to embroider that. Because if you did, you would have to do that and even then you couldn't do the gradients well. But what you could do is you could take that image and sublimate it onto that patch and get that look like Juan just did there, and then run the Merrill around it. So that's the other advantage. You can do some beautiful looking artwork by doing it that way. I know a guy right now that his wife is just buying the patches and putting them on the hat. The problem is where they're getting them from. They're getting them way too big. And so it's like literally running from the brim up to the holes, which is too big. And it's ran hole to hole. So it's way past the size of what it should be, but them are the only patches they can get. But he's selling a bunch of them. And they're just the sublimated patches. Because a lot of people like it where it looks like they don't understand the process out. Some they just see the embroidery and they don't understand it. The patch behind it's just heat pressed on. It's not even sewn, the ones that he's doing. Merrill are the ones that invented the overlock stitch, and they hold the patent worldwide when it comes to patch borders. Yeah, and like I said, they were the ones that started it. Like I said, that when I started looking, when Juan was telling me about it a long time ago, if you look them up, that's the name of what if you're looking for that style. But like I said, and the advantage of doing the sublimation that way is there are some styles that, especially if you're doing a sublimation, or if, like, for instance, for my tumbler, where I use that white background behind my logo. So if I'm putting it right in the middle of that patch, I could literally buy a pre-made patch like from Juan or whatever and still put my logo in there, that Bananas and Pickles, and it would look perfectly fine because I'm not filling up the whole thing. You could still fill it up if you're trying to, let's say I want to put a black background, but you might see some white around the edge where the trim of the stitches. But if you're doing something like a name, like Frank, Bill, Tom, you could literally take out a uniform contract where every uniform has people's names and just sublimate the name instead of embroidering it, and put them patches on the shirts with the heat bond on the back. And so you heat press it onto the shirt, that patch, and you could literally do a uniform company and never have to sew them, and it looks very similar. It's like a mechanic shirt and all that stuff. You can do all that. It has that look, but you can do the sublimation with the name. The other thing, you can do even more creative stuff. Like if you do have embroidery, you could do that logo in the high resolution and then put an embroidery name next to it. The third option also is using like polyester thread. You can sublimate on top of that. So you could do, and I've seen it done too, like they've done puff letters and then they put US, like, and sublimated a USA flag on top of it. Doesn't go down in the grooves, but you can sublimate onto the thread. So that's another feature, another texture that you're able to do with it. So you can get some really creative stuff, because you can do on that way, like for instance, you could take that. So if it was just a standard gradient on a font that you needed, you could put their name, embroider it, and just line it up close enough and do that gradient on top of it, and it would have that gradient on it where it would stand out. So I mean, there are features to do. And you can get some really creative stuff doing it that way. Hey, what's up, Mike? How's it going? Yeah, it is fairly late. This is one of the longer times. I started early today, and it just tended that I kept talking like normal. But it's been pretty good, so. One of the other things, guys, I don't know if I'm going to film it or not. I'm going to see what kind of how the reviews when I do put any out. I might do some of my other stuff on the videos of some of was about to crash and then saw the live. Yeah, I'm always on at late hours and tends to carry out. I was gonna try to crash early and work tomorrow on other stuff. I don't know though. But yeah, I don't know if I'll put my other stuff. I'm thinking of it, but I might do some videos on the mill side of the shop with the other stuff, the plasma and all the other stuff, and the mills, the lathes. I might do that to see how the have to go, guys. Got to hit the gym. That's Juan's way for saying he's got to head to the bathroom. All right, Juan, take it easy, Juan. It was great to have you. Great to have your input too, Juan, when we were talking about that stuff. But yeah, like I said, I might do some of that, guys. I'm not sure. I've got a lot of video footage from some of that. Even yesterday when I picked up another mill, I filmed a lot of it. I don't know if I'll put it in there. What I'll do is I'm just going to see how it affects the channel, views and watches and all that. I have noticed a little bit slower view rates and all that last month or two. Some of it could be seasonal. So like I said, I'm going to play it by ear and see. And then some people might like that stuff. They might not. It's kind of like the stock stuff. We had some of the people on here that were big on it. Other ones weren't. I'm a movie I want to watch. Have a good night, folks. Good night, Pam. I guess I'm going to hop off here too, guys, even though I've got more watchers now than I had all night. But been on 3 hours and tried to cover a bunch. And I will. Some of the other stuff, like I said, where I talked about the ROLLO printers and all that, the thermal printers, I will do like a thermal printer video. I'll hopefully drop it this week. I got a list of a few different videos I'm going to try to knock out. And if there's anything you guys want to see, let me know. I try to post that stuff or try to make a video for you if I can. Can't always guarantee it. Good night, Jesse. I'm getting ready to hop off too. Thanks, everyone, for coming on board. Thanks again for Myrna in Tennessee. She actually sent me she's seen where I wasn't using a tape dispenser and I was cutting it and literally sticking it to my stuff. And so she literally ordered a tape dispenser for me and sent it. So thank you so much. She's not on here, but she does watch the lives. Means a lot. Thank you for what you did. And like I said, guys, I don't even know. I can't see how many thumbs up. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up, guys. It don't really bother me, but they say it helps the channel. Hit the thumbs up. If there's something you guys want to see, leave it in one of the comments of the videos and let me know, and I will try to make a video on it. And I'll try to answer any questions you guys have on any of the things. Hopefully it helps. And then a lot of the things too, guys, I do have it in earlier videos. Like making your own transfers and all that stuff. Done videos on it. If it's something you want to see again, let me know, and I'll try to make some newer videos on some of it. But I do have a lot of videos with some of the other older stuff that I've covered. So I hope that helped. Has anyone tried the Hertens M33? I have not, Mike. Who's carrying them? Is it that's not an S&S or a TSC one. Amir, thanks again. Thanks everyone for stopping in. Had a great time. I don't know that shirt, Mike. I'll try to look it up and check and see. Alpha Broiders got it. Yeah, I haven't tried them, Mike, so I don't know. Juan would have been the only one that might have tried some of them ones. And then Juan just hopped off, so. But thanks everyone for stopping. And then Mike, did you get my message the other day? I tried to log on, it wouldn't let me link my phone on that 1350 is not too bad. But thanks everyone again. Hope to see you guys next week. Probably not, Mike. I've been on for 3 hours, and Juan was actually on the whole time. Because he texted me earlier too, even before he hopped off. He said he's going to have to hop off soon. Juan was actually on pretty much the whole live tonight. So, and then I'm hopping off just because it's been 3 hours, and I literally at 1 hour I started to hop off, and then I finally, you know how the lives go. Like sometimes people don't have any questions, other times they do. I didn't really have any questions till after an hour, and then finally when they asked a few questions, it seemed like more and more questions kept coming in or things we were talking about. So my thing is I try to keep I don't mind talking. I try to eventually go as long as I can. I'm also got like one sip left in my drink, but I'm hopping off just 'cause it's been 3 hours. But yeah, that thing you sent Mike the other day, it wouldn't let me link into your live. I tried, and it wouldn't let my video thing come up, and it wouldn't let me click to the next page. So we might have to try that tomorrow or another day, see if we can get it working again. But thanks everyone for subscribing. Thanks everyone for watching. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in one of the videos. If you guys are looking to buy anything from Amazon soon, click one of my links. You don't have to buy that item. Just use my link so I get the affiliate credit for it. And it can help me out, and it will help you guys out because I can give more stuff away then. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope that helps. And like I said, Mike, we'll try that again this week and see if we can get it working. Talk to everyone later. It's been fun. Thanks, everyone, for stopping in. I'm Waldo. I'm out.